Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Hyperline here at Deadlock Podcast. And is it even the same game? Is my question. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, as we now take a look and break down everything that might be going on in this patch. We might be here for a while. My name's Kaelaris, of course, the host here for the Hyperline. Alongside me, as always, I have Jaeben, I have Blank, ready to go. Blank, are you ready?
No. Not coming to me first this time. I mean, I waffle on too long. Jaeben, please give your thoughts.
I'm ready to. What an exciting patch. Kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody expected something of this size. So really exciting to see such a massive change in the game, especially after the new heroes and stuff came out, right? And obviously we've talked recently about the older heroes and like, are they still cool? And I feel like this patch was the answer to that question. So...
Yeah, I have to agree. If you go back and look at things like what they've done to Wraith, right, and you're like, okay, well, you know, these are little issues here and there that we thought to ourselves, maybe there will be some kind of adjustments, but then the magnitude and this gargantuan patch suddenly slapped everybody across the face, and we're here to hopefully maybe talk about it and not go on for 6 hours. So let's not have any more delay. Let's start talking about what's going on. General changes. We start off at the very top. Can now jump during slides. Dashes jump a very brief period with increased air control. So there's even more movement in the game here, Jaeben, to start things off. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I've tried to mess around with this a little bit, but I think it is like very precise and like kind of minor in terms of like, I do think you could use it to like, I think the main thing is like turning around corners as you're like dash jumping, like getting a bit of a better angle and like being able to aim a bit faster, kind of like when you go off a jump pad. But I do think it is one of the more minute movement changes they've made. I don't expect this to like revolutionize anything until somebody finds out when you do it like off a certain wall, you go like 700% acceleration in the air or something. But until that happens, I think this change is not super drastic, but there are definitely some small situations where it can help out.
Yeah, fair. Blank?
Yeah, honestly, it's super minor. I don't think it really changes too much, but yeah, I think that there were some moments at the end of a dash where you sort of you do lose all momentum. I think when they were trying to figure out instant air dashing, they were like figuring out, wait, how do we fix this? How do we make it better? So that I think they've just upgraded the normal dash, essentially. Because with normal dash, you did lose a lot of momentum at the end. Now you don't as much, I guess, like air acceleration, so you can slide a little bit longer. That's the main thing.
Fair. Not much really to cover regarding that, but let's move on then. We've got our shrine changes, we've got middle lane trooper changes, we've got a little bit of the potential of being able to push in terms of kind of finish those games into the base. So I'm not going to read off of everything here. We can just kind of talk about where we are with this. Obviously now shrines are, the first shrine at least is easier to kill, and then the second one is harder, etc. and stuff like that, Blank. But now you're getting extra reinforcements whilst, you know, being able to try and push on against these bases. So what are we thinking for this?
Yeah, I actually really like this change. The more I looked at it, the more I was like, okay, this change doesn't seem like it's that crazy, but when we were talking about split pushing beforehand, split pushing sort of ended at a walker. Like that's as far as you'd go. But now I do think that if you're playing maybe an M1, specifically Wraith, because she's a great duelist right now, we'll get onto her later. If you push the base, you can hit the base very, very hard. And then you get the base guardians spawning a zipline boosted trooper wave, so you can instantly then move on to the shrine. Because the shrine's only got 5,000 HP, there's now this incentive to maybe not fight with your team if you're in a losing game and just push the shrine. And then you've got constantly a pushing wave at that point. I think you were talking about this the other day, Jaeben, where you're saying one of your friends had lost a shrine in 9 minutes. And this happens. This happens now. I think it's a cool change. 9 minutes is a little bit egregious.
A little. Jaeben?
Yeah, I mean, I do think in conjunction with the next set of changes where, like, some of the structures are a bit weaker, I think this is pretty good. There's a lot more gold in it now, especially, like, if you are kind of playing that split push role, they put a lot of souls back into, like, taking the base guardians, taking the shrines giving, like, 2,000 souls now. Like, that's a lot of money. I do think it's good changes already. I did already see one team try to like balance the shrines out and like try to kill them both simultaneously so the other one wouldn't get the health buff. Did not work. The other one immediately like snapshots like 5,000 more HP. It's just not possible. But yeah, I do think it's a really good change overall. I hope it does develop further into kind of a meta game where people are like, yeah, you push one lane, you take a shrine, that feels like a good objective to take, and then you back. Like, I do think that play pattern makes more sense for like the flow of the game and like reaching a conclusion. So I do hope that is kind of pushed a little more. But I think this is definitely like good changes in the right direction.
Yeah, and especially because it's like the middle lane troopers also get buffed on a single shrine take. So it does make a lot more sense that, and I think what you said there was really important, that there's more incentive to push that objective. Before there wasn't hand, it was just a case, once you got to the base, you took the 2 shrines. Now it's a case of, let's trade our green walker for a shrine, because that's actually massive in terms of map presence.
Yeah, and as Jaeben says, kind of in conjunction with that, of course, you've got a lot of trooper changes, guardian changes, walker changes, base guardian shrines, mid boss has even been changed here as well. Rejuve is even coming along a little bit quicker in regards to all of this stuff. So it does feel, Jaeben, like, as you say, there's more souls in the game from all of these changes. That's going to probably put us at an accelerated state. Walkers have had their resistances changed a little bit as well here and there. So it does feel like Valve wants this game to end a little quicker than current paces, I think, for PUG games more than the competitive games.
Yeah, definitely. I think my initial impression for sure is that walkers are a lot more killable. I've had lanes that I've lost, and normally it's like people take the guardian and then they walk off. Now, but like sometimes you get those people who are like, oh, I'm just gonna stay, keep hitting the walker, right? And nothing really happens. Like they were so defensively powerful that like maybe they chipped 20-25%, but it wasn't really going anywhere. But nowadays, like Blank said, I had a friend he's lower ranked games, but he was at the shrine lost at 9 minutes, right? I think if you have people just smashing a lane and they go, I'm just gonna keep pushing, and the rest of the team doesn't rotate to stop that, they could just be taking walkers really early now. Like the lowered defenses, the increased gold, there's a lot more incentive to go for that kind of play. But it definitely does seem like, yeah, they're aiming to get games ending a little faster. Yeah. Stuff is dying a lot quicker. You get a lot more gold from taking these objectives. Definitely feels like they're trying to encourage people to push a lot more and try and close out games that way.
Yeah, I think it's cool as well because beforehand there was this instance where you could win your lane really hard. But then your question mark is, do we keep pushing this lane? We're never going to get the walker at this point in time, or do we go help the other losing lanes? Now, a lot of times you go to help another losing lane, you go into a 3-for-1 trade, and it's just not worth it for you guys at all. Yeah. But now there's the incentive, and I think it's cool where, yeah, you didn't really have to touch the comeback souls all that much, but now you can push walker because it's 6,000 HP, less resistances, and you can sort of snowball your team's game like that after initially taking that first walker. So I think that's kind of the way to do it. It is tough, though, because if you lose your doubles side first, like the game is very hard to come back from at that point.
What do you make of these mid-boss changes as well in this kind of section here? Because this interested me a lot. The global announcement health threshold reduced from 70% to 50%, because I have seen, even despite the other changes, and the 35 debuff resistance, I have seen some mid-bosses die unbelievably fast still. So 50% for the raw, and then to be able to just kind of blast it down, Blank, I think it closes the window a little bit for some kind of potential attacks on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say globally, but a lot of the rosters had their damage increased a lot, so mid-boss is just naturally dying faster. Yeah. But it does feel like they don't want these mid-boss steals happening as much. And I think beforehand, what you would have is teams going, okay, they're doing mid-boss, we're going to wait it out, and then we're going to zoom down and try and fight over the crystals when it spawns. I think now what they want is for mid-boss to be up and still alive, and the team to fight before mid-boss dies. Like, you need to take that team fight. So it's more of a, you need to come fight us now, otherwise we take mid-boss, we get a load of souls off this, we're going to get Rejuvenator, you're going to have a bad time. So I think that's the way they're trying to incentivize team fights down there. Also, the debuff resistance on it, I think that this is them slowly getting to a point where mid-boss is a real danger, because right now mid-boss is quite cosmetical right now, and I wish that wasn't the case.
He's on another team. No, it's I think you're right about that. I would still like maybe some abilities from mid boss, right? It's not just the beam and just and that's kind of what he does and that's it. But what do you think, Jaeben? Any thoughts regarding this, or are you kind of aligned?
Definitely aligned. Yeah, I think it just kind of meshes with the other changes where I think with the power, I think it's like a early reaction to making like splitting stronger and making like walkers weaker, right? Is that they expect people are going to be pushing more, so I guess they wanted to make mid boss still an option. And like if people are committing to a side push and you went to sneak a mid boss, you can get away with that, right? Because if it was like 70%, that was obviously when it was a lot weaker, right? And like people still had the time to react. But now I think it's like they want you to be able to make a call to trade mid boss if somebody is committing to a walker without feeling like, oh, they're going to know so early, we can't get it down. Like now it feels like teams should be able to make that trade in response to the pushing being easier.
And of course here as well, Rejuve, a slight change in regards to that. No longer refreshes on the last hit crystal.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, right? We've seen some teams just holding onto that last hit for ages to just prolong that and get
That's
in the
esport deterrent. That's all it is.
Yes.
You never see that in any of your pub games. That is purely esport deterrent.
I'm glad it's there. That's all I can say. I've seen some wild timings extra for that. Love this one. Minimap now indicates if the urn is favored, neutral, or unfavored. And personally, big fan of this. Obviously, we had in the last podcast a kind of little bit of a rant or talk about the add-ons that do exist currently. Are we down 10% souls? Are we up 10% souls? Blah, blah, blah. But this just makes the game more transparent for people that aren't willing to go down that mod route here, Jaeben. I think that this is a brilliant one, right?
Yep, just great change. Nothing more to say about that. It's really useful to just be able to see at a glance whether it's a good urn or not. Like, you just immediately know.
Also, in the same vein, though, hats off to the modding community. Some of them are really egregious, to be honest. But at the same time, a lot of those mods are quality of life. It's just that people don't know about them. But if they want to make quality of life mods like whether you know an urn is favored or not, and that encourages Valve to make these changes, I'm not too against it.
I think you're right.
I think it's just frustrating. It's frustrating when someone's playing with it and you're not, especially at the percentage thing, because that still is strong.
I think you're totally right, because I think that would the onus have been there to have made this change had it not been shown as a potential problem, right? I think you're totally right, even though I hate some of the mods and stuff like that. But yes, as you say, shout out to the modding scene. I think you're more interested in some of the skins, Blank, though, than anything else going on.
Get nervous, guys. Blank has managed to stretch a one line in the patch into like a 3-minute conversation.
Sorry.
He's done it. All right. 6 hours later, let's move on to these neutral camps, actually. This was an interesting change to me, actually, even though it just doesn't really look like much neutral camps added to way over by the walkers on the corners of the map, because we had neutral camps over there for quite a while, Jaeben, and then they were removed, and now suddenly some are back again. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a little weird because obviously, these were ones taken out because they were deemed like you couldn't interact with them, so it was like free gold. I suppose it's on the side that doesn't have the small camp, right? Your side lane that doesn't have a small camp. So maybe it's like an extra 6-minute camp to go for, like once those come up, like it's kind of like a balancing lever for like the team that has the small camp. Like if you don't have a good lane that can contest the spawn every time, like. Yeah, maybe it's just like a way to balance that out kind of passively. But yeah, maybe it's just because there wasn't much to do there. I feel like that zone was kind of dead, basically. Like, it was actually a pretty good box route, don't get me wrong. But that's not like very fun or interesting, especially for like newer players, I imagine. So it probably was just a way to add something back to that corner to get people going there and make that point of the map like kind of have a purpose again.
Yeah, I mean, I think... If you weren't playing like 2 years ago, you wouldn't know about this at all. But there used to be something called the Sevens Triangle, which was literally this camp. Is you would take this camp, you would do the other camp on the rooftop, and then you do the camp on the side lane towards blue, and then you would go take a wave, and then you would just rotate this. And so it was like Sevens Triangle because he was so strong at the time, and you would just put your 7 on that side of the map, and you would get mega beefy by the time it got to 20 minutes and just carried the game. So they've brought that back. So it's like a way to be like, that's the carry lane. I think that is something that Deadlock doesn't have a lot of times. It's like, it's not specified which lane your carry should be playing in. So I think this is a nice way to usher just players in general that, hey, this is where you should be playing. You should put your Roma towards blue, and then you can maybe put like offset on the other side of the map and just interchange, just keep that pushing. So I like this change.
I think it works better with the evolution that the game has gone down, less so when it was back then, right? So yeah, I think definitely it has its place. Added a zero-way veils underneath the shrine platforms in each base. I took a look at these and how kind of they sit and stuff like that. I guess it just gives more options for defense here, Jaeben or Blank.
They're just pretty funny. Yeah, they add a bit of chaos to fights around shrines, which already feel insanely chaotic. So I mean, I guess it's just a bit of fun. I had a situation where I was like haze ulting under there, and like I was like 5% HP, but I was getting like loads of damage off because they just couldn't see me haze ulting. So that was quite funny. And then a paradox walked in and punched me. But until that point, like it was getting cool. A lot of value. Yeah, it was very cool.
Also, they're not the zero way; they're the no way. You got the one way veils, and you got the no way veils. Okay, that's the coinage right there.
Okay, well the patch says zero way, so maybe your terminology is wrong.
It's the no way veil. It's the no way veil. I refuse to be convinced otherwise.
For a little while, I was like, when I was reading the patch notes, I was like, what does that even mean? And then I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah, okay, I get it. It's whatever. All right, yep. So those
it's like a zero-way mirror. Really useful. Like,
yeah, exactly. Great, brilliant. Love that. All right, well, okay, we don't really need to talk too much about this bridge on the Hidden King side, unless I'm missing something glaring, Blank, with the slight movement of this bridge. And then we have subsequent CC reduction increased from 8 to 24 to 10 to 30. Window from that was 7 to 8 seconds, etc. So like a little bit of a hit towards CC chains. Personally, I'm a big fan of like bringing some of that down in a game like this, because we've known since classic World of Warcraft what diminishing returns or the lack of diminishing returns can do in games where CC is a big focal point, Jaeben.
Ouch. Kitty punch.
Yeah. No, nobody wants to be CC'd forever, so we need a little bit more resilience to that, I think.
Yeah, this is what it comes down to, right? It's just not very fun to be CC'd forever. To be honest, I don't know how much this works on. I've never really looked into it that much. Like, I don't know, like, I assume things like, Dynamo, for example, aren't reduced, right? That would make sense because it's a channel. I guess Mo and Krillo probably is, but I'm not really sure, like, what the limitations of, like, what this actually affects. I probably should do some research into that at some point, just from my own knowledge. But, I mean, obviously, yeah, it's a good change, especially for, like, more casual, lower-level lobbies. I think, like, CC is, like, the natural way people find kills, right? So it makes sense for, like, that kind of player base, for sure.
I think they're adding a lot of just CC and just things in general to the new heroes. It feels like every kit wants to have something baked in that does something negative to the opponent, right? And at this point in time, right, where you're getting every single hero has a root, has a stun, that's the route they want to go down. So to offset that, they need to add this now.
Yeah, fair. We got diminishing ramp now, curves, blah blah blah, and all this stuff. I don't think there's huge amounts to talk about this. Fixed melee abilities now, conditional damage on enemy state, etc. And finally, Street Brawl. Remove the item slot limit. Cool. That's all I've got to say about that. Anybody else got anything?
18 items now. Yay.
Cool.
For me in Street Brawl, unless you having to deal with a bebop, for me anything goes. So any add-on to that to like have even more items, cool. All right.
Works for me.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so that is the general changes. Let's move on to our items, and let's start with a big one, a brand new item. I'm excited about it. It's the Golden Goose Egg that has been added to Spirit. So basically, this item acts like a little mini bank that you can invest in. I love investing and good stuff. And also, just as a slight side note, we are recording this after it also got a little bit of a buff in terms of the minutes increase from 75 to 90 souls. So talk to me about the Golden Goose Egg. Who wants to go first? Hands up, show of hands.
Me, sir.
Forget Blank.
Forget about it.
Go on, Blank.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think the item is cool. It's weird when you buy it, and I was talking to Jaeben about this the other day. He had a good point. I was like, it's kind of good for sports. He was like, yeah, so for 2 characters in the game. Is that it? I was like, yeah. I mean, I think it is also sort of good for M1 carries if you just want to completely ignore the rest of the game.
Sure.
But yeah, it's I think the meta will be defined as we go on. I am not 100% sure when it's a good buy just yet.
Okay. Jaeben?
I'm definitely in that boat as well. I don't really have a good beat on when its value is. 10% damage, like, is a lot, especially once you get past, like, that early 5-10 minutes. Like, 10% is you know, it's scaling, obviously, so it's like a lot of your damage is lost, especially something like an M1 carry where you want to be, like, even farming in the jungle a lot. Like, I think if it just said, like, do 10% less damage to heroes or something, it would make it be more clear as, like, I'm going to buy egg, I'm going to be in the jungle for 10 minutes, come back, right? Right now, it does very much feel like maybe a Page, Ram, Kelvin item, but even then, it's not like these characters don't do reasonable damage in the early game, and you are mitigating that for your lane power.
Yeah.
My initial thought with this item, to be honest, is that it was going to be a gold sink in the late game. You could just keep buying them and selling them to get buffs. Once you had like max items, you would like sell an item, buy like 10 eggs, and then buy the item back, but they immediately patched that out, so that was a shame, because I thought that was like kind of a cool idea as like a capstone. Yeah, they didn't like that. So they got rid of that basically immediately. I think it's like 10 minutes after the patch came out. That's gone. But yeah, I mean, with the buffs, it's obviously scaling a little bit faster. I think it's 90 souls now per minute, which, you know, it's clear that it wasn't performing. I'd be interested to know how they track the stats for this item, because obviously it's not an item that you could look at like win rate for, I guess, because no one's going to have it in an end game build, right? It probably has like a 2% win rate, because if someone has it, they should have sold it a long time ago before their patron died, you know? So like, I'd be interested to see, to know how they kind of look at this item and how it affects games. But yeah, I like Blank said, I think it's one of those things. Got to give a bunch of good players time to mess with it and see when it makes sense. But at least for me right now, I don't see a clear place for it. Like, unless you really think like, we're going to lose lane 100%, I'm just going to buy it and scale for 10 minutes and just completely give up on this lane. But
you have to buy it instantly. Choice. You have to buy it instantly for it to have like max value as well. Yeah. So it's like, you've got to decide straight away that this lane sucks. I'm going to sod it off and just get egg. If you both buy egg, you're going to lose even harder. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
That's the only argument I can kind of see for it, is that at the end of the day, it is 800 spirit investment. So maybe there are characters where, you know, buying like this, buying like another 800, buying a 3200 spirit, getting the spike is like still an offset. So like the 10% is kind of even just because you're spiking with the 4.8k. That's like the only real line I can see where some characters that math might work out. But yeah, past that, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. And I also didn't think about the idea of, like, how do you actually genuinely understand how good this item is? I guess they will have data inside of, like, okay, yeah, these people bought it, and this is around the time that they sold it, and this is the potential impact it could have. But, yeah, it's an interesting one. Definitely not something I was expecting from a patch coming along.
Yeah, for sure.
the Goldman Sachs item and seeing how it's going to work on out. Anyway, by the way, just before we actually get into all of these items, all of these heroes and things like that, whilst we're talking about all of this, there are some things that we are going to skip. And if we've skipped over your favorite item or favorite hero moment to talk about and stuff like that, sorry, but this is the longest patch I may have ever seen in all of gaming. So we... We apologize, I guess. All right, so let's talk about some of the items that goes beyond this. Into gun to start things off. We kind of ran through a little bit of this, and there's a lot of like little kind of number changes here. And the first thing that really piqued our interest, Blank, to start things off, of course, is opening rounds. So what are we thinking here for opening rounds, Mr. Blinkers?
Yeah, I think opening rounds was always that item when it was first introduced. I think they were just like, we'll add an item in. You know, it's meant to help some of the spirit characters through their early game, and they weren't really quite sure on its identity. But now they're like quite certain that, you know, if you're a spirit character, high base bullet damage, you want to pick this up. Like, it's fantastic. Plus 10 spirit's great. If you're sort of tiny bit higher bit, it's great as well. I think it makes a lot of sense on Venator, where he's scaling off certain places here and there as well. So yeah, I think opening rounds is a really cool item, and they're leaning into its effect. I don't think it got bought half as often as it should do. I know a lot of Dormans were buying this first, and it makes sense. Again, spirit character with high base bullet damage. So yeah, I like the item. I'm glad it got buffed. I think that it's got a lot of juice in it. I think 45% weapon damage is maybe too high.
It's pretty high, I guess. Any thoughts, Jaeben? Or
I think it's one of these items that actually benefited a lot from the 4.8k update, where it suddenly made sense to want to buy a gun item early on like a spirit character, right? And this feels like a good slot. You know, this combined with like a ballistic enchantment on Doorman or something like that is like an easy way to hit your 4.8k orange spike. So I think it getting buffed and kind of filling that like default orange slot, 1600 slot for like these spirit power characters does make sense. I think it's in a good spot now. We'll see if Blank's right and it's a little bit overbearing, but I think it's probably pretty safe where it is now.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I kind of echo what you're saying about the idea of the way spikes worked across all the stats, right? 'Cause I think it's really cool that there is an incentive for classes that may not necessarily build into gun, may not necessarily build that much into spirit, to actually have something to aim for, to be able to overall make them stronger. And if it fits those kinds of slots, then so be it. Let's move on a little bit here then. We got Swift Striker, Mystic Shot, some little kind of scaling changes here for some of this stuff. And then we go down to good old Backstabber, which is no longer Backstabber. It's now been renamed to Stalker. And it seems like, Jaeben, you don't need to hit anybody in the back anymore from all of this. So there have been some changes to this. What do you make of it? Because we couldn't figure out what overtime bonuses were earlier. I'm not...
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas, Jaeben?
No longer a proximity requirement for the overtime bonuses. Those are just words. No, I think this. I will say this. IM feels like it's way more overbearing now. I don't think Backstabber was considered bad at all, for sure. But now it seems like it's a very, very, very good item. Like there's a lot of like Paradox, Ivy. Like a lot of characters are picking this up. Drifter. It was kind of coming back into the meta, I think, a little bit. Like it did kind of fall off since the initial changes where they added the range cap to it. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head if it's the same range, but it feels like it's roughly the same range. And maybe it's a little closer than it used to be. Either way, like it just seems kind of crazy that you basically just proc this for free. I thought at least it would be like a build up, but it's not even a build up. It's just you hit someone who's close and then they're immediately bleeding. Yeah. So it's definitely really crazy. I feel like the identity of this item before was kind of cool, like having to hit someone from behind, but maybe they just felt like it was a bit too, the situations were too exclusive, and like while it did hit people who were rolling, that wasn't very obvious, like so maybe they just felt like they just wanted to clean it up and make it more clear. But it does feel like it was a bit of a massive buff on an item that was already performing pretty well for a lot of characters.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you're 100% right. Where it was already in a spot where I don't think it was bad, and I think it had enough build variation across enough characters that yes, it was niche, but it still had a purpose and a place. There are other items that are just not getting built at all before this patch, and I think that those are the items you need to take a look at. But items like this, where they had a place on certain characters at certain builds, are absolutely fine. Now it feels like a must-have pick if you are at all any character that plays close range. So Drifter, Billy, Venator, Calico, any character that plays a little bit close to you, it makes sense to pick this up because you get so much off the buff.
Also, from that actually one of the items that I did kind of skip over, and I just briefly want to touch on, is Split Shot, which now has custom count of shots as well as different angles of shots per hero as well, like that. And Celeste now has it because it was disabled for a while, right, Jaeben? So that's actually more interesting than I thought it was going to be, considering that there's the potential of, I don't know how all of these split shots look for every single hero. God knows how that's going to affect things if suddenly a hero has like a really good situation with the split shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think this initial change is kind of like just saying the tech is there, right? I don't know if any heroes other than Celeste have actually had this happen yet. I do think this is one of those weird items, kind of like Blank was just describing. It's just one of these ones that isn't really bought unless your name is Viper. Maybe Graves. It feels like no other character is really like wanting to pick up Split Shot. They keep buffing it. They keep giving it more effects, like more damage amp if you're hitting a bunch of people in a team fight. But it just doesn't really feel like most M1 carries want to commit the slot to something like this. I don't think that will change for now, but maybe like this new tech that they've added to it where they can kind of like change how it functions on different heroes will maybe open up some like unique ways they can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, Viscous beforehand, he had 3 shots coming out from Split Shot. He's got 5 coming out on his right click now. So it's actually pretty egregious in lane when I was watching it. I mean, I do think that punch build right now is pretty crazy. So is splatter. So people aren't really pushing it too much. Plus, they attempted to kill Express Shot Viscous as much as possible, as people weren't enjoying that. There were Mystic Shot back at 1.0 scaling. I don't know. Split Shot Viscous could still be good.
Could be. We'll see as we kind of take a look at all of those heroes down the line. That could have been its own video in itself, how potentially split shot affects any other heroes. We move on to melee charge, which actually I think also the same as Crushing Fists got the same treatment here. So heavy melee bonus damage now works with heavy melee abilities, Jaeben. So there is a world where some of them heroes that like to be in your face could be even more in your face and be doing even more damage.
I don't know what you're talking about. The heroes in my face are not the ones I'm worried about with this one. It is the Goo Man himself. I feel like this character was already extremely egregious. Doing like the recharge, the recharging rush with the punches, and the punches trigger recharging rush, so he gets more charges. And now these are just going to be doing more damage for fun. Yay, love that. So not excited for that at all. I think Viscous is insanely annoying with this punch build going around. Even though I think he got changed a bit, so Splatter is a bit more encouraged. I've still already seen like a bunch of punch Viscuses. They did make it a little bit easier to react to, but that's definitely the character I think of immediately. Is the Viscous punch benefiting from this a lot.
Spirit Shredder bullets, we can headshot, kind of numbers just moving here and there for some of this stuff. Ballistic Enchantment got a little bit of a change up overall. Does feel like just a change for not as good spirit-wise, more gun-wise here, Blank?
Yeah, I think for Ballistic Enchantment, they were like, we want you to stop using this for its 30% range.
I did like that.
It's a gun item. Like, there were people using this item on stuff that just didn't even make sense to have it on. Like, people were putting it on 7 stun, which I guess, yes, still hits and gives you that, but mostly just used for the 30% range. So I think that they wanted to go deep into the fact that this could increase your weapon damage up to, I believe it's 120% if you hit all 6 characters with an ability. Stop putting it on the doors. We beg you, stop putting it on the doors.
Yeah, no, I think this is a cool item. Still kind of getting figured out, I think, because it's still relatively new. Like characters like Geist, I think, are the obvious choice for this one. I do like the idea of putting it on 7 too, to be honest. I didn't think about that one. I have seen people building it on 7, but I just assumed it was on the ball. But it definitely makes more sense for it to be on the stun, to be honest.
Weirdly enough.
Really?
Yeah, because
because you get stacks when you hit people with the power surge. Interesting. Yeah, and the bounce. It's pretty cool as well. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So you can like.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool item. I like it a lot. I like it a lot for sure. I think it's a cool design. Just the way it's like, the scaling weapon damage for having this ability to hit things. Like it's just a well thought out. But I think it's still relatively getting explored. But yeah, I definitely understand like taking the range down just so it's less of a good util item and it's more filling its purpose.
I'm totally the Neanderthal 7 because out of all the options you just presented, I was like, make ball bigger. But I was having a great time, all right? So if you could just leave me alone, now, unfortunately, it will be slightly smaller.
Make 7 ult large.
Ooh, the sparks. Love that. Okay, so moving on. Hunter's Aura got a bit of a nerf here and movement in its numbers as well, Blank. Let's talk on that one.
Yeah, I think for Hunter's Aura, it was especially egregious on the 3 times, honestly. And I think that the solo hero multiplier was surprisingly easy to proc as well. You'd have fights where you'd have 2 people fighting in the same area, but they were just spread enough apart, you get 3 times damage on them. So Hunter's Aura was incredibly strong, but it has got some of the weight shifted, like you say. So fire rate reduction increased from 11 to minus 14%, bullet resist reduction from -8 to -10%. And I think that's fine because Hunter's Aura was pretty much being built for that 3 times damage where you could play as an assassin on characters. I think it's pretty nasty. You know, I mean, I think that it did contribute to a lot of those ridiculous moments you see with Silver. I think I saw a tweet the other day where it's like playing against Silver is like watching a 12-ton truck come at you and you can do nothing about it, which is absolutely true. And I think this does help to offset characters like that.
What's the range on it actually, Hunter's Aura? Is it like isolated with Drifter? How far is that range?
I don't know the exact, but I know it's deceptive.
Okay. So
Damn.
it's an interesting way of
He
describing
knows
it.
it's deceptive.
Oh,
It's very, very Loki-esque.
it's lurking around.
The exact
corner.
range is 15 meters. So
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I mean,
so
I would say about this item, the best way I heard it described once by Ido is that it's a green masquerading as an orange, which I think is actually true. I think the real power in this item is actually in those isolated 1v1s like gun carries, you're basically getting an orange's item's value of damage plus the bullet resist reduction, right? But on top of that is the fire rate reduction is like heavily mitigating their return DPS. Realistically, I'm not sure how often this change is going to like impact those 1v1s because like I think this is like a silver drifter kind of like hunting down the carry in the side lane kind of buy, right? You
Yeah.
basically just build it to be able to 1v1 any kind of gun carry in the game. And I don't know if it being 2 times is gonna change that often because it's still gonna be like, you know, a 28% reduction. It's still 20% bullet resist, right? Which is, you know, very, very substantial in that 1v1 scenario. But it will make it closer, right? Maybe like if you're only a Hunter's Aura ahead, before it was like there was no way you were going to lose. Now there's still a chance for the other, you know, the other carrier to kind of like fight back and maybe have a window. But I think it will still fulfill its purpose pretty similarly. I think it's just making it a little bit less insane in terms of the stats it gave in that scenario.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. All right, well, let's move on then to good old weighted shots, which has had a litany of changes that I can't really make sense of too much because I barely ever buy weighted shots here, Blank. So help me, oh, blessed one.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. I mean, weighted shots, I think people might have glossed over this one. I think this is one of the most busted items in the update, in my opinion. I think slowing bullets was a crazy item as it is. The reason you didn't really notice it as much late game is because most people sell it because it's a 1600. But it is ridiculously strong. So it has the slowing bullets passive, and it gives you tons of other damage built in just on the item on top. Yes, it gives you minus 0.5 move speed and a slight dash reduction, stamina reduction, sorry. But its debuff resistance has gone from 16% to 18%, and weapon damage increased from 35 to 40%. I think this item is crazy. And beforehand, I'd even say minus 30% bullet velocity wasn't even that too much of like a bad thing against you. They've removed that as well, so you don't even get the bullet velocity reduction. This item is insane. I think that you're going to see a lot of people buying this in the future. I think slowing bullets was already really upsetting a lot of people. I think it's going to be even more annoying in the late game.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're right about the 30% minus bullet velocity, because if your hero was going to be affected by that and already had low bullet velocity, which would be affected by it more significantly anyway, you just wouldn't buy the item. All the heroes that had it before were just kind of barely really feeling too much about it. Any thoughts on this, Jaeben, before we move on?
I'm just not really sure where to place it, to be honest. For me, slowing bullets is like a weird item because I feel like it's really good on characters like Silver, for example, if you're playing Pick. And then the other people who buy it feels like it's like these like hazes and mirages. I feel like it's pretty common on, but I don't think this is like an item for haze mirage, right? I feel like minus move speed is actually very significant on the M1 carry because you really want to hit that point where you could just walk at people and hold left click. And I think having that big hit on your move speed and like having less stamina recovery is quite significant as like an end game item. So it doesn't feel to me like an item that wants to sit in those inventories at the end. I think it's just, it opens up a build path on characters like Abrams and stuff to me, I guess, where you can kind of choose slowing bullets as your 1600 / you know, build into a weighted shots really early, like kinetic weighted shots, right? It could be Abrams is like 4.8k orange. But other than that, I'm not really sure where to place this new one. I do think losing the spirit resist on it is kind of painful, to be honest, because I think that made it really overloaded before. But yeah, we'll just see kind of how it sits in the meta after a few weeks.
I don't know, man. I think that you look at this item on Drifter, you put this item even on a Graves. I think it's ridiculously strong. I think it's ridiculous. And it doesn't really matter if you've got it's 0.5 move speed and stamina reduction. They are slowed by a ton, dude.
On Graves, though?
Yeah, but they're slowed by a ton. And you're buying stamina.
Drifter's running 1,000 miles an hour. I agree.
Yeah.
He's going to be fine with this. He's also, you know, proccing slowing bullets in one hit because the character makes no sense.
You're buying stamina mastery anyway on Graves. So I don't think it matters too much. Just being able to run people down this item is going to be ridiculous. I have high hopes for this item, and I also have high hopes it gets hotfixed.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see if that does happen then. As we have some other nerfs and buffs coming along. Express shot kind of changed a little bit compared to like minus 30% to 2 ammo, so I just guess the 50% as a whole, and how that goes. Blood tributes, etc., stuff like that. What's up, Jaeben?
I was gonna say, I will say this express shot change I think is very interesting. I don't know where this makes this item sit, but I do wonder if this is like maybe going to be a subtle carry item going forwards or something, especially for characters like maybe Geist, for example, that are hitting like big hits. Hitting 2 instantly is like quite substantial, right? Changing it from 30% ammo to 2 ammo is like a big buff for these kind of like high clip characters, but even small clip characters are gonna like benefit from this, right? But I do wonder if like maybe this is like gonna end up being like a weird late game item where just having that express shot is like a lot of value for like a gun carry. Just getting that double hit faster, yeah, like a Mirage, like getting that slightly higher DPS in the late game. Like maybe there's something to it. I don't know if that's where it will end up, or if people will even test it like that. So we'll just never know. But I do think this is a really interesting change for like higher clip characters for sure.
If you put this on like I don't know, any character that has high build up on their items, like does this just make you instantly proc most like build up items, like, you know, for instance, Infernus with toxic bullets, as well as afterburn, stuff like that? That could be interesting.
It might do, right? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'll definitely be interested in testing this around a bit and just kind of seeing if you can get value out of it on characters like that. Because I think there is maybe something to it, just because it's a lot more accessible for like a higher clip character now.
Well, we'll see. We will see. We've got blood tributes, changes, and things like that. Self-damage increase 40-50 because it's now no longer any healing reduction, etc. Spirit Rend changes, a little bit of movement in that regard. More lifesteal for it. We already kind of mentioned the Crushing Fist thing. Frenzy came along and had some interesting changes to how this could potentially work out. Because, Blank, this does feel like it's changed purpose a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think for Frenzy, it's... I wish that they'd brought things down a little bit more. I like that they front-loaded the item more now, so it's less of a dead buy if you're just picking it up and waiting to go low HP. But I wish that they'd reduce the values once you went to that low HP, because this just seems like a crazy pickup now for, again, like if you're playing Yamato, playing Silver, this is a fantastic item. But you were buying this anyway. Like, you were buying it anyway. I don't know about this one.
Jaeben? Any thoughts?
Not really sure I land on it. I think Frenzy is an item that feels like characters should be buying, but a lot of the power feels quite invisible. It is very conditional when you got those bonuses, so I think putting a bit more power into the base item, so it does feel like when you're spending 6.4 thousand souls, like you do feel like you get substantially stronger, like off the rip, right? It's not just like, oh, I'm stronger when I'm low. Like that, it doesn't feel very rewarding, right? But I do think it is a very good item. It's just maybe like, making it feel a bit better as a purchase off the rip, rather than having to wait until you get low in a team fight to truly get any benefit.
Yeah. Maybe they felt like it was just a little bit too much. Too much waiting and just too much conditional, I should say. Final thing for the gun, then we got Spiritual Overflow, which has a little bit of a change to it, with plus 20% duration instead of.
It's back.
Is it back? Is it?
Well, they swapped it back. It was duration before, right? And they changed it to CD, and now it's back to duration, I think. Right, Blank? I think that's what happened.
Don't like this change.
Infernus is back, Seven's back, rule building, overflow, we're durationing.
Roll back. I mean, it's funny that this past podcast has been like, I don't want to see Infernus. We've all been like, we don't want to see Infernus coming back, and
Joshy said, hold my beer. Watch this.
It's looking like I'm back. Pulling a John Wick, dude. It's kind of annoying.
So that could be potentially scary with Spiritual Overflow, that's for sure. All right, that's gun done. We are blitzing through this to get it done. I say we're blitzing. We're not. We're 44 minutes in already. Let's move on to those green items as we start things off. And we've got a little bit of extra health for extra health, which is nice. Restorative Locket got a bit of a change here, which kind of, didn't surprise me too much, but also a little bit, because I feel like it kind of lags behind a lot of the other healing items that do exist here, Jaeben. But what do you think for the Restorative Locket change?
Yeah, I don't know. Resto Locket's weird to me. It feels like the best item no one buys.
Okay.
Like, I don't think anybody builds this unless they're like Mina. Mina feels like I guess maybe like somebody like Ido or one of the other really good Mina players started picking it up on Mina, and then it kind of like made everybody pick it up because it was in the build, right? So it kind of felt like it became a core pickup. I think it's a really, really good item, especially in like some lanes where you have like abilities getting spammed, right? It's like the classic Magic Wand Dota situation. Yeah. Where you have this massive heal, like it's it's a very substantial, it's like 400 max stacks I think base, right? And it's scaling as well. And then obviously you get like all the stamina back. You just like fully refresh your stamina, which is obviously crazy, like chasing or escaping. I think it is just one of these 1600s that's like a little bit weird to use, and like it's a bit more cerebral than your average
Average
barrier or spirit shielding, like Enchanter's Emblem, yay, I do more damage. I think that's why it doesn't get picked up, but I do think it's really good.
Yeah, I was talking to Kel about this earlier, Jaeben. I was kind of just seeing it as like it's great on any character that has any form of movement or wants movement. So I mean, Celeste probably wants to pick this up now. I even think it's a great Victor item, and maybe somewhat of a substitute to Warpstone if you don't need the bullet resistance, where if you're chasing people down, a lot of times the thing that kills you on Victor is getting stamina drained, right? Because you can't sit on top of them, and you can't get all the healing back and proc your one enough or frequently. So I think that you get a big heal, and it means you can get back on top of them once again, and then start draining everyone. So I think Deadlock is good. I do think it's in a weird place where it is like one of the more, I don't want to say brainy items, but it's a case of
I said cerebral. It's a cerebral item. I'm telling you,
it is I guess it's a cerebral item, but it's also an item that you intend to sell later. I don't think people like buying items that you're meant to sell.
I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. Unless they're egg, in which case everybody loves buying them.
Yeah,
love the egg,
but they have to be told that they need to sell it. All right, that's the thing.
Yeah. I want a return on investment, right? And if I'm picking this up and then I lose souls, absolutely none of that. That's rubbish. Hate that. All right, so that's Restorative Lock here, and how it does sit at the moment. Return Fire got a little bit of what feels almost like a quality of life thing, or at least like a more consistent change. Mr. Blinkers, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a birth. It's a bit of a birth here. I think that there were moments where, again, we talked about this earlier, that you get bullet downs by a haze, and if you return fire, sometimes you kill the haze in 1 second, sometimes the haze would kill you and it take you 3 seconds to do 50% of a life bar. And I think this is just purely because the item was so inconsistent. I think that people have been complaining about this for a long time. I know that Goober's had his complaints about this as well, but it's nice to see it actually fixed. I think it's one of the most buggy items consistently throughout the game. One of the most buggy items that no one's ever known about. So yeah, I'm glad that this got looked at. Its damage got reduced from 60 to 50%, but again, I don't think that's that bad, because some amount of shots would naturally miss before.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is wild. It's wild that this even was the case. So I think that people never really saw the true power of Return Fire because it was so literally hit and miss.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. So I guess, obviously it's still going to be good against the targets like Haze and stuff like that, Jaeben, but just without the RNG. And it's always good to get rid of some of that RNG when the game's already hard enough.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I think it's just to make sense as like a more consistent change. I can definitely say I wouldn't have noticed. Like I remember times where Return Fire was crazy broken, and I guess it was crazy broken while missing sometimes. So I wonder if it'll be back as like a natural M1 counter. But I think that's okay. I think it's like, again, it's like the problem is it's like also one of these items people are gonna have to sell at some point, right? Like it's that kind of like same theory of like I don't want to spend 1600 on something I'm only using for the mid game, but like I do think like it's nice that it exists. It's like a good option for like these tankier characters and bruisers to pick up a anti-haze, anti-wraith kind of item.
Yeah. All right, well, we've got bullet resistance and spirit resilience even, both having changes, which Blank was trying to explain to me earlier, Jaeben, and I still didn't quite understand it because of the wording we actually get here. So I guess Blank, go for it again, and let's see if I'm still stupid.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think Bullet Resilience and Spirit Resilience were both really, really strong last patch because they upped the low health threshold to 40%. Now, I don't think you can call this low health threshold anymore because it's just a health threshold at 50% now.
Yeah.
But beforehand, you were getting a ridiculous amount of spirit resist and bullet resist once you hit 40% HP. I think it was around about 40%, if I'm not wrong. It was something in that region. It was very, very strong. But for characters like Silver as well as Yamato, you would get them low enough, and then all of a sudden they would get this second wind, essentially. And these are both characters that have capability to do a lot of healing in a singular strike. So you would get them low, they would crescent slash, or they would go for the throat, and they would get a lot of HP back, and you would just get in this horrible loop. I think now with these changes, it's way better, where they have reduced the amount of resistance you gain from low health threshold, but it still serves that purpose as it gives you a little bit of a second wind, but not so much that some characters can become essentially invincible whilst on low HP.
Okay, anything to add, Jaeben, or?
I do think it's like one of those weird balance situations where I think they've actually literally doubled the low health threshold in like the last 5 months. I'm pretty sure like last year, like October, it was 25% or something, and now it's 50. So like, it is kind of crazy that I guess their idea of tightening it is making... I think they were quite underbought, the armors at the start, compared to some of the other 3Ks, right? Just the green options you had. So I think it kind of made sense, because they're like, not as interesting. You just need to, be raw stats of like, I need spirit resistance this game. It makes sense. I'm going to buy it. But yeah, I guess they're just tightening up of like how strong it is, how big the dynamic is between being high HP and low HP. And so that's just kind of what they're doing here, where they're lowering how much you get from being low, but it procs a little earlier. It makes sense to me, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if you think about this, Jaeben, but I think that bullet resilience needs to be different from spirit resilience, because I think that the way you negate spirit damage is very different to the way you negate bullet damage, because I think that stuff like Spellbreaker, and we'll talk about that later, as well as spirit resilience, they're very good versus spirit damage, because usually spirit damage comes in big chunks. So if you're reducing that big chunk by 30-40%, fantastic. That's a lot of damage reduced there. But if you're just constantly getting battered over and over by bullet damage with no end, it's like that's bad. If I can block one barrel and I can dodge the next, and then it's not so bad here and there. But I think that bullet resilience maybe needs to do something a little bit different versus bullet damage if they want it to be useful. Because again, I think bullet resilience is sort of a dead item right now. I would always much rather buy metal skin or return fire.
Yeah, or even plated, right? I think that's the reason why plated feels so strong comparatively, is because it's literally blocking shots, right? So you are having a chance to literally not take that damage, compared to like you say, if they're only hitting for like 150 per shot, that obviously adds up very quickly, but you're not mitigating anywhere near as much as if you're mitigating a 900 damage barrel, right? Like it's just a fundamentally very different way of having to defend against it. So yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. I don't know what they could do to bullet resilience to really change it. I think these items kind of just exist as a catch-all, like I want to take less gun damage, and it's like a 3k for that, right? I think its place in the game makes sense, but I do agree it's definitely not as strong as the spirit version. And yeah, stuff like return fire, plated armor, they do feel like they fit that niche of like dealing with those characters more effectively. But I think bullet resistance still exists as a cheaper option to just be like, I want to take less damage and stand in front of people, rather than kind of like dealing with the problem. You're just like making sure you live a little longer for the situation or whatever, right?
It's an interesting one, because it feels, as you say as well, it will always fluctuate. Even though they're kind of moving at exactly the same pace up and down, whether they buff them or nerf them, it's still a little bit reliant on the current meta, right? Whereas we're seeing a lot of spirit meta right now, and how that's kind of working on now. If bullet meta suddenly comes along, as you said, there's already other kind of solutions and stuff like that, but the numbers move in the same way, but the way in which the damage is actually dealt, it's an interesting one. Well, we'll see. All right, well, those are those. Moving on down the list as well, Dispel Magic was the next thing that caught our eye in terms of all of this stuff, because Majestic Leap and Trophy Collector, it's like, yeah, okay, you're getting a little bit more, you're getting a bit more barrier, cool. But Dispel Magic, nice big kind of CD reduction on that. What do we think for this one?
I think Dispel Magic going down to 40 seconds makes sense. I think beforehand for DBR, it was fine on like a longer CD anyway, because it did a lot for you and was a great item overall with everything else included. But yeah, I mean, for Dispel Magic, it's going to be more regularly bought, and I think that it's a little bit of a preemptive strike versus some characters that have long durations on them.
I think so,
that you want to dispel away from. So I do think
Can't
they
think of
just want.
anyone.
Yeah, I know. I think they just want Dispel Magic to be in a more comfortable place. And I think even with this and Transcendent cooldown, yeah, really good item still. Very, very good item. I would pick it up.
Anything, Jaeben, on it? Or probably still
Yeah, I mean,
thinking
Dispel's
about
just one of those weird ones, right? Because I think now that it was kind of like reworked to not have the debuff resistance, which made it feel like a natural buy. Like now it's like spirit res, and you're basically just buying it for the cleanse, right? Slash a little bit of spirit resistance. I don't think that's like a bad purchase by any means, but it's not as comfortable to buy with like the 1600 into 3200. Like it's a little weird. So yeah, I think making it stronger for like that specific niche that you want it does make sense. So it feels a little better to buy.
Looking at actually just above all of this as well, and Life Strike actually got hit pretty hard, Jaeben, by the looks of things.
Yeah, I feel like they really did the Void Walker treatment here, where basically if you wanted to be unkillable in the early game and absolutely dominate lane on something like Drifter or Silver, people were just rushing Life Strike. I know this was very common in like Europe pubs as well, high level Turnus Europe. It was very common that people were just taking Life Strike first item basically, and you could just never get forced out from that point on. You had crazy sustain. But yeah, it looks like they've kind of done the Void Walker thing here where now it's boon scaling. So like a mid-late Life Strike is going to still have the same / more value, but it's not going to be like that first purchase buy. Like Life Strike plus a 1600 green, you get the 4.8k green spike. You still do a ton of damage. You have infinite sustain. Like it was a little disgusting when you played against characters that were kind of abusing that. So I think it definitely makes sense that they've gone like the Majestic Leap Void Walker kind of fix here to help deal with that.
Yeah, fair. Anything to add there, Blank, or we can move on?
Move on. Yeah, I think Life Strike is just it's a little bit more dead early game, which is fine because there were multiple characters rushing it, like Jaeben said.
Yeah, sure. Let's kind of get to the end of the green items here as well. Fortitude, time to regen, reduced from 13 seconds to 10 seconds. I think I don't think we need to really talk about the fact that this is just going to potentially keep people on the map more if they do go for it compared to anything beyond all of that. Spellbreaker, high instant damage reduction reduced from 75% to 65%. So a little bit of a movement here for Spellbreaker. Blank, what do you think?
Yeah, good. I mean, Spellbreaker was the catch-all for any and all spirit damage. It was insane, and it killed a lot of characters. I mean, Apollo got killed by it. Yamato gets killed by it. Great Talent less so. But again, you look at the in-game internal cooldown on this thing. It's like 9 seconds. Reduced by cooldown as well. Transcendent. Ridiculous item. Really ridiculous item. I think that it just pales in comparison to plated armor pales in comparison to this, because it's meant to be its equivalent and it's just nowhere close.
I think that's totally fair for sure. I do think Spellbreaker was like one of those things where it made you feel, or it made M1 carries feel very invincible once they pick it up. Like I've had games, where you play like Yamato and you're going crazy and you're like dominating the mid game, and then the carries get to a point where they buy Spellbreaker, they manage to fit that into their build, and suddenly Power Slash does like 200 damage, and you go, oops, guess I'll die. So I think tightening those windows, making it so spirit characters, if they play well, if they find an angle, they could still get these kills in the late game and kind of kill through Spellbreaker is important. But I still think it's strong. I still think it's like a really good point, and obviously going to be a must buy in most games for these M1 characters. And I do agree, like maybe plated armor leads a little bit more to get there, but I think it is kind of that same problem of like, how do you directly, compare these two like stats where it's like bullet resistance that has to be a different kind of thing, and like spirit resistance, which is like these big chunks of damage. How do you make those like equal? I think it is kind of a weird problem.
Yeah, fair. Well, beyond all of that, we got one more green item that we really want to talk about here. Interesting that Cheat Death has no kind of impeding on the movement in terms of when it procs and stuff like that. But Siphon Bullets now feels like it is a potential tank shredder, changing from a fixed amount to now 2.5% of health here, Blank. So what do you make of it?
Yeah, this is just the tank buster item now. but I think Siphon Bullets has always been in a weird spot anyway, because in the past, this item has just shredded people. People rushing this. Inhibitor, Siphon Bullets, Ricochet. Oh my god. Horrible to play against. I do think this is just going to get to a point where this is likely going to get toned down. I think 2.1%, 2% might be a healthier place for this to be. But again, we might get back to the days where you see characters that have inherent high fire rate building this item. For instance, Ivy building this just seems insane to me. And in the past, you used to see Ivy's go Backstabber back then, and then Siphon Bullets first item. So yeah, I'm a little bit scared by this one. I could be completely off the mark though, and this is just fine. But to me, it does just feel a little bit wild.
Okay. Any final thoughts here, Jaeben?
To me, given that it's percentage based, I think that kind of problem where people are rushing it is less of an issue, right? Because it's not going to have as much of an impact in the early game before people pick up a lot of greens and like these tanks get really big. I kind of like the direction for this. I think Siphon was like a weird. It was kind of like that reverse Hunter's Aura problem where it was like an orange masquerading as a green a lot of the time. And like it was like M1 carries were building it when it gave them the DPS that made sense. And like it didn't really feel like it was like a real item with a true niche. But I do think this version makes sense where you're like, oh, their team is like Abrams, Billy, Mo, and I'm Hayes. You know, this makes a lot of sense to me to pick up as a 6'4", and then I can like drain all their life and like actually do a lot of like tank shredding, right? I think having it be in that more clear direction rather than it kind of just feeling like does it do the DPS needed this patch? Like I think it's really good. So I think it's a lot better of a design. It might be too strong, but yeah, I do think it kind of naturally scales with the game, right? It's going to have more impact as like a later buy because they're going to have more health for you to steal. But yeah, it seems like a good change to me. I really like the new identity of the item.
All right, let's move on to spirits then. Mr. Blank, what do you want?
Oh, sorry, I apologize. I thought we were further in than we are. I was going to talk about Ethereal Shift.
Wait, what?
We just got into Spirit. What the?
It's all the way at the bottom of Spirit as well. He's crazy. All right, let's start near the top, not at the top. A few numbers changed here and there, of course, for some of these items above. Slowing Hex now sets the gravity of an enemy to a fixed 20% heavier, regardless of their own base values. As soon as I saw this, Jaeben, I said to myself, what does this do to cheeky old Celeste? And so that was my first thought more than anything.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the Celeste answer, right? I think even when you slowing Hex Celeste last patch, it just felt like she was just bouncing off the walls and getting around, right? It didn't really, because she doesn't have a natural movement ability, it was just like her kit did that. Like her character just was more floaty. It didn't really feel like slowing Hex was cutting anything off. You weren't like stopping her dash ability. She was just moving slightly slower as she was jumping through the air. So I think this is a really good change to just like, now slowing Hex into Celeste is gonna mean that she's not just jumping around. She's gonna be locked down to the ground a lot more. She's gonna lose basically she's gonna temporarily lose that floatiness she has, right? She's gonna be a lot heavier. So I think it definitely makes sense for that and like her future character designs. I think across the board here, like a lot of these utility items, these utility spirit items, getting a cooldown reduction is nice. It's still the same problem, right? I think actives are scary and like items you want to buy for a window are scary because it's like, I'm spending 800 on Rusted Barrel just to sell it later. That feels terrible. But I think like making these items a little stronger, having a little more uptime, like with things like Spirit Sap, things like Rusted Barrel, Slowing Hex, like just kind of giving them more of an opportunity to like be active in the game, so the purchase feels a little better, especially for like players still learning the shop. I think it's a really good change across the board for like a lot of these spirit items.
Yeah, for sure.
Sap one is scary, Blank, because it feels like the uptime now on Spirit Sap could be insane.
Yeah, it's for Spirit Sap's wild in terms of an item down to 24 seconds, and you get Transcendent cooldown. This is down to a way shorter cooldown, lasts around about 5 seconds of superior duration. With Infernus, you can start getting people into minus spirit territory with Silencer, as well as the Afterburn minus 35% spirit damage. So you just become the killer of any spirit carry on the enemy team. It's fairly insane. But I don't mind Spirit Saps too much. I think Jaben's right. We're reducing the cooldown on these, get people to use them more, so it doesn't feel like that much of a bad investment. I do like this. The other change I really like, we just glossed over a little bit, was the slowing hex projectile speed increase from 53 to 80 meters per second.
Yeah,
that means if you're chasing someone, they can't outrun your slowing hex before it's even got any value. So it's just instantly on them. Also makes it harder to riposte, harder to counterspell.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that riposte kind of felt like a catch-all for a lot of these things. So, well, let's move on then. We got Silence Wave as well, and this also not only had a cooldown reduction, but also the damage scaling has gone up. Now, Jaeben, I've used this many, many times on good old Rem, because I love Rem, and I thought to myself, damn, the damage isn't too bad on it. Now it feels like it hits pretty darn hard, so I feel like this is just making Silence Wave even more fantastic.
Yeah, I think it also naturally kind of makes it feel... It gives it more of an identity in, like, Spirit purchases builds, right? It now is going to make more sense as, like, a utility buy for, like, a character that's building a lot of Spirit anyway, because you are benefiting a lot more from this increased scaling. So I think that's good, that it's kind of, like, opening it up as an option more, because it's going to give you that little bit of extra burst, but you can be like, oh, I'm helping the team, I'm locking down the X character because I have the Silence Wave, right? So I think it's a nice change. I will say I've definitely got a lot of kills this time, even on something like Silver, where you're not building a lot of Spirit power just off the base damage. You just finish someone off with the Silence Wave. It's definitely happened to me like more than a handful of times. So I'm definitely a little bit scared that maybe if you see like maybe Geist picking this up, or I mean the natural is like Grey Talon, right? But I don't know if I'm that worried about Grey Talon getting it, but I guess he would probably be the one who has the most Spirit. So maybe we're going to get, Silence Waved into Owl to get one shot, and we'll hate it by the end. But I think it is a good change overall.
Hey, I mean, like, this is a crazy Rem item. I've seen Rems being able to achieve 300 plus Spirit power whilst in nap time. So, yeah, you're getting hit by a 500 damage Silence Wave that silences you for 3 seconds. This item's insane. It's basically Ivy tier 3 ult without any of the movement involved. I think it's going to get tweaked. I think this is crazy right now. It's essentially a 5th ability. I know active items they're meant to be supplements to your character. It's crazy for 3200. So yeah, I don't know how long this will remain like this. I think a 0.8 scaling wouldn't be terrible here. Sure. I think it's nuts. I think this item is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that there's some tight spaces and you can even hit like multiple people on this, because the range on it is really not insignificant either. It is terrifying to deal with. Let's move on as well. Knockdown gravity increase from plus 50 to 100%. I guess for the most part that just means the target's going to be falling faster. So that is going to be very nice to be able to follow up on some of those knockdowns. There's not much really to kind of talk about in that regard. And we can kind of jump across a lot of this other stuff, I think, as I scroll on down. There's Torment.
Whoa, don't miss out Magic Carpet. Look how long you can fly now. Whoa!
Wow. I can show you the world. No, go away. I don't want any of that. Ethereal Shift.
Ethereal Shift. Wow.
Wait, Blank, actually.
I heard Blank was talking about Ethereal Shift, yeah.
15 minutes ago. Go, Blank, go.
Yeah, I think Ethereal Shift is a really good item, and I think I realized how good of an item was when Jaeben was playing on Infernus. We were sort of losing the game, and then he went, I just grab Ethereal Shift over Counterspell. I think it's better. I think there's more stats involved, and then we just won. Jaeben just carried the entire game. And I think reducing it to 35 seconds now makes it an absolutely a very reliable pickup for a Spirit carry to choose over Counterspell. So I like this. I like this a lot. I'm glad they're putting a little bit more power back into E-Shift.
David?
I just love a good story where I'm the hero. So thanks, Blank, for sharing that one. That was great. I think E-Shift is cool. Yeah, I do think it kind of fits that similar niche of like, yeah, it's like a capstone over Counterspell, especially for Spirit characters. That like, you can still dodge the Lash Shot, you can still dodge Infernus, right? Stuff like this, right? Yeah. You can kind of use it for the same sort of reasons you'd use Counterspell for, but it has a lot more stats on it. The effect is probably stronger overall. You have a lot more control. So yeah, I think it's a cool item. I think the current version is probably one of the healthiest it's been. It's definitely had its times where it was really disgusting, but I think right now it's like pretty fine and like still quite underbought. So I definitely understand that. I understand the buff overall.
Yeah, fair. And also there was Torment Pulse as well, which this change as a whole feels like a very REM focused change as well, because not only did it get a bit of a nerf overall, and then helped with the sleeping enemies, but who cares? And then also there was an extra change where they nerfed even more the damage. So it will probably still be bought by REMs to an extent, especially the fact that it's not going to really kind of accidentally wake up people in the sleep, because it's just nice to have something like this blank when you're on somebody and you can't be targeted. Lol.
Yeah, I mean, final pickup here in the spirit category. It got nerfed again, and I think absolutely for the right reasons, because I think a lot of people don't check the damage breakdown because it's automatically hidden now as opposed to opened after you die, so you have to open it yourself. But I think if people start looking at damage breakdown when you play against Rem, you will often see 1,200 damage from Torment Pulse from Rem, because he's gaining a lot of spirit whilst he's tag-alonged with somebody else, and that Torment Pulse is ticking for 150 a pop. I think it was very much justified on the nerf, and also pretty much every single spirit bruiser was buying this item. I think it's one of those, I think Jaeben put it well earlier, it's like an invisible item that you don't realize is doing so much, but it is insanely strong. 100 damage a tick is crazy on 1 second intervals.
Any final thoughts on that, Jaeben, or can we move on?
Yeah. Torment Pulse, scary item. Many damage. No good. Yoshi nerf.
Nice.
He's hit it. And Vortex Webs have kind of round things out as well. Obviously, it has an option where you can target a single person, so you can kind of drag them into that, as opposed to just put it on the ground. So cool, extra options, extra ability. All right, that is the items as we kind of covered them in, an hour and 10 minutes. Great. Right, time to move on to the heroes. Let's get it done. All right, first and foremost, let's start with good old Abrams. As I almost said Abrahams there because I'm too used to it on the night shift. It's Abrams.
They lost now. Move on. Move on.
Oh, they did lose.
They're rubbish now.
They're rubbish now. I don't know about that one. Let's talk about Abrams. Sick. Yeah. Start off with you, Blank. What do you think about his phase? We're not. Oh, sorry. Actually, just to preface all of this, we are not going to talk about. Otherwise, we will be here for hours and hours. We're not going to talk about every minute detail about what has changed here so far. We're going to talk about a feel that we've got so far from the characters, and obviously, in a week's time, we're going to have even more games under our belt to actually talk about what we think so far about them. But we've already played quite a bit, and that's how this is going to be phrased. So we're not going to be spending half an hour per hero. We're going to be spending a few minutes here per hero, just so that you guys at home don't have to endure 10 hours. All right, Blank, Abrams.
Okay,
bang.
First impression of Abrams. Had a really cool opponent we played against the other day who was very confused that he couldn't light melee off the rip. And that's right, they have removed light melee off the rip here. So once you get tier 2 in shoulder charge, then you can hit your heavy melees, your light melees. So they removed that off. So it's more of a stun tool in lane and a bit of damage, as opposed to is to light melee, headshot. Oh my god, I've just taken 400 damage from Abrams just because he hit a lucky charge one time. The lane's completely changed around. So I think that's overall a good change. But I think a lot of the changes you'll see through here for a lot of heroes is just tightening up the archetype of what they're meant to do. I mean, even just this debuff resistance on Infernal Resilience tier 3 plus 20% makes total sense. He's a tank. Even just changing it so Siphon Life is now circular rather than 180 degree cone in front of him, that also makes sense. He's meant to be in on the action. If there's a character standing behind him, he should be siphoning life. So yeah, I like this overall. I think it's messing with some of the early game from some of these bully Abrams, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely agree with Blank. I think it makes sense that they're pulling power from his early game. Yeah, I mean, it did just feel like if you weren't like a tankier character and you got charged, you were just dead instantly to Abrams alone. And now it feels like he has to have that set up. He has to have his ally ready, right? It's more of like an actual play tool rather than, you got charged once and it was over. Now there's like actually windows to respond. Like he's not getting a bunch of free damage. He like you say, it's tightening up the archetype, making him to more of a tank and more of a util character, which I think makes sense. I think it's a good direction. I hate Abrams in lane, and this makes it more bearable. So any changes that go in that direction are good, in my opinion.
Is there any interactions you guys can think of which are like impact? Impact allows you to use items during it. Seismic impact. Is there any like big changes that could potentially happen there?
Vortex Web. Vortex Whip.
True, yeah. It gives
That's
you a
the big one, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, gives you a really good window to throw it down and then just pop it down as well.
I'm not 100% sure on how it works. I don't know. Can I like Phantom Strike someone while I'm, seismic impacting and just land on them instantly? Because if you could do something like that, it sounds kind of funny. I don't know if that works, but like, yeah, can you just remove the part where you're falling really slowly? Because it sounds kind of cool. Definitely worth messing around with. But I haven't seen people mess around with it too much yet, and I feel like if that was how it worked, it would have already happened to me, and I would be crying. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming it probably isn't that good.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, we'll see how those interactions would play out in the next week, I suppose. But let's move on then to good old Apollo here. Fixture post not leaving the ground when it started.
All right.
So that was
Skibbity-babbity-babbity.
Yeah, that's done. It's done. It's nice. It lets you use riposte to actually angle yourself upwards whilst you're on the ground, so you're not locked to that X angle anymore, which is good. I think that it gives you a little bit more of maneuverability with riposte. No longer triggers from trooper or neutral damage, which is huge in lane, so you're not just randomly parrying the creeps. But overall,
big on walker fights as well. Not being able to parry walkers anymore is actually very substantial because they abuse that a lot. Like the amount of times I've been dove past Guardian into my walker against Apollo, even in like lane phase, and then they're like, "Oh, it's good. It's about to slam. I'm out of here." And they just, parry away, and then no one's catching this character.
Oh my God.
I think that's a very, very good thing to remove from the game, probably, even if it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. I feel like there's still so many moments where I just can't catch him, deal with him. Flawless Advance no longer increases Apollo's lunge speed. Is that something to do with him using it as a movement ability for a lot of moments blank, or am I totally off the mark here?
Yeah, I mean, I think they just wanted it to feel a little bit more purposeful in the case, but also not so you can just fly off to the skybox with that with that ability anymore. Is a little bit insane. Still playing against Apollos who are doing some wacky stuff where it's almost impossible to catch them, and you have to build slowing hex. But yeah, which is now better. Also, Etani Losan became cooler and bigger. I think that Etani Losan base damage reduced from 225 to 190 makes it less so that in lane when you're playing is you got 500 HP and suddenly you get Etani Losan and you're just dead. I don't mind that. The spirit scaling increase from 1.6 to 2.3 makes this. I think they're trying to angle it as more. This is the coolest ability in his kit. It should be one of the most impactful abilities in his kit when it comes to the late game.
Yeah, exactly. Because it felt like, oh, yes, it was an absolute murderer in the early game, but then the fall off of it in late game, Jaeben, just felt like, okay, well, yeah, I've been Eternal Low Sound, great, but I've lost about 1/8 of my health. This really didn't matter. But it seems like they've made the right shift here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, especially with things like Counterspell, right? It's one of the more objectively, like, obviously he can hold it, but realistically he's almost always going to send it straight away, so it's quite easy to counterspell and react to it like that. I mean, yeah, he definitely just falls off. I think he's still very annoying to play against in general Apollo, but I think it's hard to complain too much because I'm sure his win rate is still in the absolute gutter. Like, it does fall off very hard. It's just like he has that, like, the 5k to 25k range where he just feels really oppressive. Like, it's so hard to catch him, so hard to get away from him. Like, Eternal Losan does a bunch of damage, but it's hard to, like, demand nerfs because he doesn't perform that well in the long run, I imagine. But it is like it's a tricky character design because it's not very fun to play against. But I do think these changes are good overall, making it so you can kind of interact with Flawless Advance a bit more, making it so he can't, like, get these egregious parries off on the walkers or minions. I think it's good to make his kit feel a bit less unfair, quote unquote, and just kind of, make him rely more on his damage or things like this rather than just being really frustrating.
All right, well, that's Apollo. Let's move on to big changes here. As you can see, for a Bebop hook can now be cancelled.
I think they forgot the rest of the patch.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where are the nerfs? Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll put a picture of Blank on my face right now. This is my reaction when I saw this. I was like, he's so annoying to play against at the moment. Blank, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a frustrating one. Again, I think Bebop. I think this is not even a case of nerfs or buffs anymore for Bebop. I think it's just Valve needs to come to grips with the fact that they made an unfun character. And I hate saying that because I do like Bebop. I play Bebop a lot myself, but it's coming to the point where I'm like a rework territory for this guy. I think they've tried their best multiple times with it, but it's just not happening. I don't think he's enjoyable to play against in lane. I don't think he's enjoyable to play against late game. Even when he's weak, he's still unenjoyable to play against. So yeah, frustrating. I think this is a good quality of life though on hook. So it's okay if you ever hook your teammates who are chasing someone down accidentally, you can insta cancel it. I saw someone hooking a dynamo and then canceling it once they've reached the enemy team, and then he would just singularity, which was funny. But yeah, I think overall he's one of the least fun characters to interact with throughout the entire game. But people still love playing him, and for
they do.
Reasons I'll never understand.
Well, they might be having a good time, and that's where I'll leave it. All right, well, let's move on to good old Billy, who has had quite a few changes here and there. What's your guys' thoughts since you've been going up against the good old goat on the cursed apple? Mr. Jaeben, I'll start with you.
This feels like a reverse Abrams to me. I feel like they made a lot of choices to kind of like lower some of the utility for Billy's kit in favor of kind of giving him more damage. I know they like put the Rising Ram cooldown into his base kit basically, rather than having to tally into it, and then they gave him more weapon damage. Off the tier 1. It feels like this is kind of like the reverse, where Billy was also kind of being played as this like super tank kind of thing, and they maybe wanted to make him feel like more of a bruiser and like kind of focus more on doing gun damage, maybe building into that a bit more rather than building all these like tanky utility items. I'm not really sure entirely, because every time I've played or seen him on my team, it feels like he's doing loosely the same thing. It didn't really feel like he changed that much. So it might just be like a bunch of things got shifted around, and like maybe his early game's a little stronger or his mid game's a little stronger, and I just don't have the experience to kind of recognize that. But realistically, he feels quite similar to how he did in the previous patch, I think.
All right, everybody's favorite cat and cat Calico, along with Ava, coming in here to see what they are doing. Again, a big litany, or a litter of changes here for this one. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Litany.
Terrible, I tell you. We'll start with Jaeben for Calico. I did see that the leaping slash now could be cast on spot, which I'm not a fan of. Is that still in?
Yeah, I think the most substantial change here is that Leaping Slash lost its vertical tying, I guess you would say, where you couldn't go up or down. So before, like, you had to do that weird thing where you, like, jumped and aimed down because it only unlocked if you were in the air. Now she could use Leaping Slash any axes, which means that you could basically use it on the spot, which I think is really, really substantial for, like, her assassination patterns. That was always kind of a bit of a player skill thing where you had to kind of, like, know the momentum of your Leaping Slash and position in a way where you could make sure it hit who you wanted to hit, especially if they were close to you. But now it's a lot easier, a lot smoother to do. Very, very simple. The new Leaping Slash T2, where you get souls on hero kill, is like kind of crazy. I don't know. This is like Vindicta all over again. I'm really nervous about that one, where I feel like it was a big problem with Vindicta, where she was just, if she was snowballing, she was out of control. And she had like a bit, as you're getting those souls, you're doing more damage, which means it's easier to farm souls. It was like that kind of play pattern that was like super, super crazy. And I think Calico has been one of those characters in the past where when she gets going, it feels very oppressive, and now she's going to be hitting those spikes even faster. I mean, traditionally, you don't necessarily want to put that many points into the 2, I think, but, like, throwing 3 points in there now early game to kind of, like, get that snowball going does seem pretty good, I think, at least to me, and it's not that much of an investment to kind of potentially get a huge reward. So definitely a little bit scary. I think there's some other cool stuff in here that I like with, like, for example, her gloom bombs are like anti-barrier now. I think stuff like that is kind of cool. It feels like a little niche sometimes, but I do think it's pretty neat that stuff like that exists where it gives her more of a draft niche, right? Oh, they're getting barriers, like I get bonus damage off gloom bombs if I have Calico. Like I don't think this is like strong enough for that to make sense necessarily, but I like the idea. I think that's cool.
I'm completely on the same page with you in that I thought to myself when I saw the plus 300 souls on kill, I'm like, this is a hero that has that and also can use all the tunnels and be moving between lanes and being a menace and being a nuisance. I feel like Calico could be a very strong assassin candidate to just constantly be roaming, trying to look for those things. And I mean, of course, you'd never really want to ignore waves, but you could just kind of be roaming and looking for those fights constantly, Blank.
Yeah, I think that it's a cool one where we're once again getting back into territory of heroes that no longer have a set build path in terms of abilities. It's like if you're doing well early game, then maybe you go 2 points into Leaping Slash, and then you go max points into Ava, so that you get the 20% damage amp as you're traveling, and then you just assassinate people with that. So that could be a really, really cool way to just snowball a game. If you don't get that, then you max Return to Shadows, and you just try and get in and out of fights and try and pick up some kills here and there. So I do like it a lot. I think Calico is in a scary spot, though, I would say. I think I'm as worried as Jaeben is. I tried playing it. I sucked on it, but that's not to say...
I can confirm. Vouch.
Yeah, he confirms. I have played against some good Calicos who have been playing this character for a while and know how to do the combo, and I do not know how to do the combo. But again, I think this comes back to an earlier item, which is Silence Wave, which does a lot of damage, which just adds even more to a burst combo. So you get 300 damage on the Silence Wave, into Arctic Blast, into Leaping Slash, into Gloom Bombs, into 20% damage amp, into Return to Shadows. That's just, if you do the combo right, which I can't, that is just any carry just dead on the spot. And 250 extra souls.
I think a good point to make on that as well is obviously she had the damage amp in her kit before on Return to Shadows, but it was contingent on using Return to Shadows. The new version with Ava means her initial burst when she's coming out of Ava is also buffed. And, you know, I think you could assume that, you know, in that duration of the damage amp, you could probably get your full rotation out and start the second rotation, because I think she still gets the reset, right? I don't believe they pulled the reset from Return to Shadows Tier 3. It was just the damage amp is gone. Yeah, so you still have that. You still technically have the damage amp in your kit, but it's actually affecting more of your upfront burst than it was before, because you now don't have to wait for that Return to Shadows proc to actually get the amp. You're getting it on that initial combo. So I think she is particularly scary, and I think as she gets more solved, we will probably see the start of a Calico meta again, which I think is always a scary place to be. Look out, Rem, the tunnels aren't safe.
No,
Oh my god, yeah, that's actual death.
Not my tunnels. Oh well, I've got a big mole to worry about now anyway as well. We'll talk about that later on. But all right, well that's Calico now. She does sit. Just a few changes going the way of Celeste. Gravity reduced. It feels like I've never said gravity more than we have about than when Celeste came along. We've got a little bit of air control, acceleration, Shining Wonder, bounce reduced as well, and the linger duration is reduced here. So kind of expected changes, it feels like, for Calico Blank. Sorry, Celeste.
All these changes are a step in the right direction, but the amount of changes that are here need to be tripled. She is ridiculous. If anyone was watching DLNS last week, you will have seen how disgustingly broken this character is, and then you'll have seen it completely countered. But that required you to draft an entire team surrounded around shutting down a Celeste. So, again, if you look back on it, you're like, oh, Celeste wasn't great. Abraham's played it and it got taken down by Leviathan. It's like, Leviathan had an incredible game plan going into that game, and the game plan was to shut down the Celeste. And they opened up for it. So, again... Yeah, I just think that Celeste is a disgusting character, and this is not enough changes right now for her. And right now, a lot of our games that we saw, Jaeben, no one's playing the DLC characters at the moment because everyone wants to try out all the old rework stuff, which is great news. Yeah. I love it. Old heroes did need some love. I think Celeste will see a return soon.
Jaeben?
Yeah, I can believe it for sure. I think one of the weird parts about these changes is that surely the gravity reduced means it's technically a buff. Obviously the air control was lowered and the acceleration. So I don't know how she feels overall, but I thought it was weird that, like, technically, surely, like, the gravity being reduced means you have less gravity, which is better, right? Yeah. So I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know how that feels overall. I haven't played it since these changes. I do think this targeted some of the more egregious stuff. We've highlighted it before, right? How far Shining Wonder bounced, how long it kept you out of the fight. Taking that stuff down, I think, helps tone down some of the more super frustrating aspects of her kit. I'm not really sure where she'll sit now. I think, she still should be pretty good in principle. But I think this this does definitely tone down some of the more annoying things that she was kind of bringing to the game.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on, as we do have... Oh, look at that. Actually, I can ask his trusty sidekick in Bellboy Blank to talk about Mr. Doorman to start things off here, because I've seen you've been playing a lot of Doorman recently, and actually, just as a proviso, whilst you take a look at these patch notes here, ladies and gentlemen, there was a slight change to him afterwards in a hotfix, which the hotel guest tier 3 late checkout cooldown is increased from 10 seconds to 13 seconds. So take that into account when we're talking about him as well. Mr. Blank, why don't you start the Bellboy Blank?
Yeah, bells do a ridiculous amount of damage. Also, I don't think people are quite tapping into this just yet, but you can, with Rapid Recharge, Echo Shard, you could place like 5 bells on mid-boss and just insta-pop mid-boss with bells alone if you wanted to. It takes a little while to get going, but again, I think bells are doing an incredible amount of damage again. So he is a bit more of a nightmare in lane. Cart got some quality of life overall, so it's wider, it's bigger hitbox, easier to hit. The scaling on doors, though, is a little bit of a weird one. There's a great guy on YouTube called Joe Chuck, who's a fantastic doorman player, but his whole shtick is kidnapping people, either into walkers or into base. Now, I saw him from Blue Walker kidnap someone into his base because of the spirit scaling on doors in terms of the amount of meters it can go. It's a bit ridiculous, but I do think that at a certain point in the game, it's like, well, we no longer have any walkers, so that tech's kind of over. So now it's scaling with spirit is a nice way to go into the end game, is that now if Dorman's kidnapping you, he's likely kidnapping you into his base. So I think that's fine. The damage does just feel a little bit high, though I'm willing to wait this one out a little bit, because honestly, the games that we've played...
Because I like playing him.
No.
I love Doorman.
The games that we've played when I've played against Doorman, because I haven't really been playing him during this patch so far, the games that I've played against him felt like he fell off a little bit towards the end game, which was fine. Like, he felt strong early to mid, which is what he should be, and then he's more like of a carry denier in the late game. And that's cool. I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, I'm willing to wait it out. Let's wait it out.
Are you willing to wait it out, Jaeben?
I mean, I think my initial read playing games into this character is like, wow, this is the most broken character on the patch, and it's not close. Yeah, the bells are doing insane damage. I think my opinion has shifted to, wow, this is the most broken character that will never win a game.
Yeah.
Kind of for what Blank highlighted, where I feel like at some point you're just doing things and it doesn't actually do anything. Like, you're not changing the game. You throw out bells and you chunk someone and they go heal and you go, yay. Or like you put someone in the door and you're like, yeah, I'm unstoppable, like they're not gonna get out. I put vortex wear, but then they click unstoppable and they just run out and you go, oh, there goes that plan. Like it feels like eventually people just build items and he doesn't do anything, or like the things he's doing are not substantial enough. I do think the door is crazy, and like I think there's definitely a world where this character is like comp locked, where he's just going to be broken in this state because people are just that much better at using the door, or that much better at like finding engage angles with him. Because like I think, you know, door is like a feasible engage now because you can put it so far behind the team. Like the range is unbelievable with a bunch of spirit power and expansion and stuff like that. Like it just goes crazy far. I could try and tell you how far it goes, but you just wouldn't believe me. Like that's how insane it is.
It's true. You wouldn't see it.
It is nuts. Like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I was sieging mid guardians at blue, and yeah, like I said, I was walking away. Like I turned the corner, I started to go into like the little garage with the tier 3 camp, and like doorman appears, he pushes me into the wall, I come out in their fountain. I'm like, what? I'm not even close. Like the base is massive now. Like it's unbelievable how far the door can go. And I do think it's a character that's going to scale with games and reps. And yeah, maybe it might be a comp locked thing where he just is really, really good and competitive again, which I think is cool because I think he's very flashy. His design is great. I think it's cool when this character is good, but wow, is it annoying to play against right now.
Yeah. I think if Valve has learnt plenty from having to deal with people like Dendi hooking people into fountains, I think that notion will eventually cease to be. In one way or
honestly,
another.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they add a rule where it's like, yeah, you can't door in the fountain now or something. That doesn't feel like it's like that out of line. Maybe they'll find some angle where you could do it from the side room and push them into the fountain or something, but at least they're probably not getting stunned then, right?
Yeah.
But I could definitely see that change happening just to kind of clip some of these niche cases where people are just getting pushed into the fountain and instant killed.
It's like that weird thing where, again, putting it in the fountain is kind of cool for if you get the spirit scaling online and you can do it towards mid boss. If it's possible to do it at mid boss, I don't know where you could place it. You could maybe place it as you on the tunnels by the side, like where the railway system is. You do have the situation where it's less about pushing their team into your base, but like a free reset spot for your team. Just constantly going back, healing, coming back into the fight, going back and healing. Maybe something like that in the future, which people will start looking into. Even just patron fights where you're running in and out of the base, healing up every time, and they just constantly cannot get the invulnerability off. I mean, there's cool stuff to do like that, which I just don't think the character's fully explored. Drifter, though, Kaelaris, as I know you're trying to move on to it.
I'm trying because I know both of you have had some really fun Drifter games recently. So let's talk about Drifter.
Pushing on from what Jaeben said is that he had to read, and this feels like the most broken character on the patch for Dorman. This feels like the most broken.
This is the most broken character on the patch.
This is the most broken character on the patch. Actually, ridiculous character. Really, really silly. Renders way too much damage. Every time I played up against him, I have had zero fun.
Zero.
Yeah,
literally zero. Not a smidge of fun.
Oh dear me. Jaeben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't even know what happened. Like, I just feel like suddenly this character does unbelievable damage from like the second one. Like, he's like walking into lane and killing you. Like, and if he's not killing you at the start, like, it's like he gets one stack now because he gets enough assists. I guess he's getting more aggressive damage scaling than he was. I don't know. It just feels like this guy's running away with the game so quickly. I feel like he's doing crazy base damage. I've seen people just like rushing 4.8k orange and then just obliterating you. Like, it is really, really strange. Because like when I read the notes, I don't think like, oh wow, he's gonna like do so much more damage this patch. Like, but somehow I guess it's just like panned out to be doing that. I've also heard about people doing like basically like Spirit Rush Drifter, like you're just rushing like Spirit Strike, trade to Spirit Duration, and that's really annoying. I think I have a problem with Drifter's ult where it feels like the craziest CC that isn't a CC. I do think like, especially like when I play a lot of M1 characters, I think Drifter ult just feels like it locks you out of the fight for 12 seconds, which is not fun at all. And I don't really know how to combat that without like changing it aggressively, right? It kind of just feels like that's how it is, but I do think it's I don't know. It's becoming more and more popular in competitive games, I feel like. Yeah, I mean, in theory, right? But I've also had times this patch where I've tried to counterspell it and it just didn't work. I don't know what happened there.
Making the radius a bit bigger, maybe an idea. I don't know.
Well, they just reduced the radius on it. They just
took it down, though, yeah. They said you're seeing too much, frankly. I don't know. Like, the utility of this character combined with the damage he does feel very crazy right now. I don't know. I think... Yeah, I guess Counterspell is kind of the way, but it does feel very strange to have to build Counterspell for this kind of ability that isn't like a traditional or engage or a traditional CC. Like, I'm not building it to save my life. I'm building it so I can influence the game in the next 12 seconds, right? Yeah. Like, that's very, very strange. And like, yeah, you know, it's also like if there's 6 people in an area, you could not be sure if the Drifter ult is actually going to hit you, right? You could be one of the 3 not closest to him, but you still have to use your counterspell in principle. So now it's just farming my cooldown for free, you know, like when really it wouldn't have done anything. And it's still hitting 3 of my team and they can't see anything. Like, realistically, you can't team fight into this ult anyway. Like, it's so strong, just blocking 3 people out of the fight, basically. Just because so much of the damage in this game is based off sight, right? It's not like, you know, something like League of Legends Nocturne, where it's a very different style of balancing. You can't see, but like, you know, you're not fundamentally unable to impact, right? It's not quite the same, I think. So I don't really know how to solve the problem. Maybe they're just fine with how it is. It seems like that's the case, considering they basically made no changes to it at all. It just made it slightly stronger.
I think Nocturne's a great example, though, because Nocturne, he uses ultimate, and then once he's on you, you can see again, right? That's the main thing, is that... But for Drifter, it's like he can be on you, you still can't see anything. I think Nocturne's ult is a really good
That's
example.
valid as well, right? Yeah. The range of the Drifter ult feels like it doesn't match with the range people are hitting you at a lot of the time, right? So yeah, you can just be taking damage and not even sure who it is or how to respond. Like, yeah, you just kind of miss that information. So yeah, I definitely understand that.
It's scary. I think you'll be seeing a lot of Drifters in your games until some slight change maybe come forward. But anyway, let's move on to Dynamo, who has quite a lot of change as well. I'll just start us off because I've played God knows how much Dynamo. I'm not surprised in the slightest that they put more damage on Kinetic Pulse, but reduce the range and how that works a little bit. Because there were moments where if you were building Kinetic Pulse and doing well with it, you could hit people from miles away if you were able to line it up. And it was very irritating to start off against. But what are you thinking, Blank?
Yeah, I mean, you like you said, you can hit it from literally downtown. And it was a ridiculous amount of damage across multiple heroes. Now it's a bit more targeted, but does a bit more burst. So I think that's absolutely fine. I think all of the Dynamo change is very similar to what we're going to see from Kelvin later on in these patch notes, which is we're making him into a support, and we no longer have any of this random early access Deadlock stuff in his kit. 22% fire rate, 120% ammo on the Quantum Entanglement. It didn't really make sense for the character outside of some niche scenarios. So I think now that it gives you some really decent stuff on top of it, so you're getting dispels, ult deboost for you and your allies, minus 6-second cooldown. This is all really cool stuff. Rejuvenating Aurora cooldown increased a little bit, but you can jump with it now, so that's kind of sick. But as a 1-second linger on allies, these are all really nice stuff to just make him into a better support, essentially by removing all the stuff that didn't make sense. Because again, he was a character that came off so early in the game.
The rejuvenating aura one that allows you to jump while using it is such a massive quality of life thing for noobs like me who end up cancelling their rejuvenating aura because they want to jump. So don't get me started on that. I'm very happy that that's there. How about you, Jaeben? What do you think?
Even just law usage in general, right? Mantling, stuff like that is all accessible now, which you just couldn't do before. Yeah, I think like Blank said, it's a good way to push him kind of into his natural archetype. I do agree, like the weird ammo stuff on Quantum Entanglement never really made any sense. It was very strange. It didn't really make sense to min-max it. I think giving it a cleanse is like a really cool idea. Like it adds more agency for Dynamo to like kind of like react to a situation, and help his team out in that way. I like the changes to Quantum Entanglement especially. Kind of restoring stamina and stuff as well. I think it's really good. And yeah, I think the other thing I really like is the Rejuvenating Aura T1 change, where it's the move speed is now during the channel rather than afterwards. I think that's just such a good change. I don't know why it wasn't really like that anyway. I always thought it was really strange. It was like, now I'm done healing, I'll run really fast. Like, it feels like it makes a lot more sense in the new version. But yeah, I think this is just, again, really good shift into kind of his natural archetype and style, taking out some of the weirder elements of the kit, and just kind of shifting them into power that makes more sense appropriate for the character.
Gundamo is dead, though, unfortunately.
Oh, who cares? Ben, and that's it.
Oh, no.
from a year ago. Right, anyway. Yeah, that's gone. All right, next up, we got Graves. Not too many changes of Graves. A lot of grasping hands changes here, which, I mean... What do we think, Jaeben? Because I think that I'm happy to see kind of like a little bit of a tweak on the alternate cast methods, etc., and things like that. Because it felt a little bit clumsy in some moments. But what do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's mainly just the hands are getting shifted around a bit, right? The power's getting moved from like the root duration and more the utility of like the length of the wall, especially in the tier 2, right? Getting shifted. The duration is getting shifted to tier 3, and then the wall length is getting shifted to tier 2. It's just changing around some of the utility again, right? I think Blank's kind of highlighted before, this ability can be quite unfun to play against when you had to like end up in a situation where you keep walking into it, just kind of without a choice. So yeah, I think they're just pulling away some of the power of that, making it a bit less oppressive when you do kind of get chain hit by it, but still giving her good like area denial, putting a bit more damage on it. I don't think it should shift too much, but I think it'll feel a little bit nicer to play against.
It's still quite a commitment to jump over the wall, right? Like, I think a single jump's not doing it for most heroes at Blank, so, I mean, it's still got its core value still very much there and in route.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are also quite happy with the tier 2 change, which is plus 90 damage and 10 meter wall length. I think putting the 10 meter wall length on tier 3 felt very rough because no one really wants to max out wall first or wall early. It's usually the last thing you max. But giving it 10 meters is great because it still has use again and it's something you might want to build into. And then putting the 1 second immobilized duration on the tier 3 is also fantastic. So by the end of the game, it becomes like a really good route, and is no longer as oppressive in the early game. So I think all really good changes here for Grays. I'm okay with it. It's still a little bit long. Like 2.2 second route is kind of crazy come late game. But there is, like James says, there's conditional to it. You have to walk through it. But by the end of the game, a lot of people have stamina. They can jump over this.
All right. Well, our favorite smoky lady, Miss Hayes, is here to talk about, as we have quite a few changes here and there. I guess, Jaeben, I'll come to you first for Hayes.
Sure, yeah, I messed around with it a bit. This feels like a push to kind of bring carry Hayes back into the game a bit. I mean, obviously, I think traditionally in pubs, Hayes is still kind of like this like M1 carry, but, you know, realistically, in the competitive state of the game, when she was played, it was very much playing around this pick play style. You know, using smoke bomb to find really deep picks with the sleep and like kind of finding kills off that. They've done a few interesting things here where they've pulled the sprint speed off bomb at base. That's just gone entirely now, so you have to put a point into it to kind of access that as a heavy roaming tool. They've kind of removed the stamina reduction from her sleep dagger, so it's less of a tool to, like, you know, you sleep someone, they have less stamina to get away. Like, that's gone now as well. Overall, it feels like, yeah, they're taking away a lot of that pick utility and kind of using that as an ability to put more, you know, value into her damage again. Like, fixation got a lot more spirit scaling on the tier 1, like a really, really big buff in that regard. The bullet dance tier 3 hitting 2 people again is kind of like an old thing Hayes used to do that they pulled out of the game because it was very, very strong, especially with Ricochet. You were just killing everybody instantly, and that's kind of back. I saw a clip from Ida the other day where he was playing Doorman. He pushed an ulting Hayes into his fountain with like him and a shiv, and he was thinking like, oh, she'll get stunned, we'll kill her. He didn't get the stun on the wall as she was ulting. She just killed both of them in the fountain and then just walked out. Just walked back through his door. Thank you, I'll be gone. Like, it's doing so much damage to 2 people again. Like, really, really, really high damage on 2 people. So like that ult Hayes kind of mid-late play style does feel like it's making a return. And it feels like that's what they're more comfortable with her being in the game rather than this aggressive pick kind of character.
Sure.
So that's kind of my read on it, yeah. I do think it's kind of sad they pulled out the 0.5 second invincibility from her tier 3 smoke bomb. I always thought that was really cool. I know Parzelian, for example, was a really big player of like utilizing that to its max. Like, it was basically just a small gap of invincibility frames,
playing
right? Like counterspell. Yeah, and it was there was a lot of cool windows where you would like dodge a spell, or, you know, you would dodge last shot and you would just use smoke bomb to do that. And I thought that was very rewarding and very high skill cap. So it's a little sad to see that gone just for a self cleanse. But it is obviously a bit more accessible for like people to utilize. It's a lot easier to be like, oh, I have a debuff on me, I will click 2, like, than like trying to like min max this like key moment. But I did always think it was a cool addition to her kit when they did put that in the game, and it's a bit sad to see it leave.
I feel like this blank is an interesting one to add back into the game, especially now with the additional target being hit by Bullet Dance, because when this was a problem, it felt like there was a lot less movement in the game. It felt like there was a lot less kind of, you know, skill for a lot of these players as well. So now that in theory you can get out of Bullet Dance, I would say easier than you could back then. So it'll be interesting to see this kind of test go on, see if it does become oppressive.
Yeah, I mean, I played against a Hayes yesterday who ulted 3 of us onto their walker, and it didn't really matter that it didn't go too far because we all died instantly.
Okay. It's a test. I'm telling you, it's a test. It's just a test.
Yeah. Played Ricochet, and then I took 1,000 damage from Ricochet in 2 seconds. It's
just a
strange.
test,
Yeah, that's it.
Woo!
Yay! So
I mean, I do wonder if this is going to be a push back to that kind of old style Haze, right? Getting greater expansion, getting Ricochet, right? Less of like the heavy M1 kind of playstyle.
Have you considered ballistic enchantment on Bullet Dance?
Ooh,
I
I mean,
that.
low key, he might be onto something.
might
But then,
be
yeah, I think
cooking.
things like that could be the direction that they're kind of going in, right? Especially when she has that like higher spirit scaling now on the fixation. Things like, you know, greater expansion are not as tough an investment. You are still getting a lot of damage from that, right? There is like the classic meme of like mathematically correct Haze, where she technically scales with so many weird things and her bullet damage base isn't that high, so orange items aren't that good, right? So what do we build? Like, and I believe that with these changes, there probably is going to be like some crazy mathematically correct alt Haze that might end up being a huge dominant force, like in pubs especially, but maybe even the competitive meta again, with like the strength the double hit has especially. I think it could definitely be a return of Haze as like a real carry, as opposed to this utility playstyle has been so popular.
All right, well, moving on to the next one. Everybody's favorite neglected boy for the last few months, now to be back for a blank to talk about the blaze that is Infernus. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I wish I'd never said that Infernus was boring.
Scared? Are you scared?
Yeah, I wish I'd never said that. I never want to play Infernus anymore. Yeah, I think Infernus is just kind of back to how it used to be. I think that the main change here, which is important to consider, which I really worried about, because he has plus 3 second max burn duration, which in my head I'm like, what is that? But no longer is a case where if you tag them with a bullet, it completely refreshes after burn. Now it's a case of it's a build up every time. So if you're walking away after burn's got 1.5 seconds left on it, he tags you once, it's going to add like 0.2 seconds to it. So you're no longer having these situations where you're dying to Infernus and he's off screen. You might still have that.
You might.
But not. This is a character you just don't want to fight at length. I think he's much more into the late game carry stuff, but no longer has as annoying impact. Yeah, I think that they rightly touched Napalm as well. Amplified damage was reduced from 20% to 16%, which I think was fantastic. And they also increased the life steal though. So, you know, they for some reason on Napalm, they always have to readjust numbers. I don't know why. I think, honestly, just reducing the amp damage there from 20% to 16% and leaving the rest of these buffs in would have been totally okay. But I'm interested to see how things go. They also made concussive combustion a little bit more exciting. So we'll see how he does pan out, because I do think that he seems fairly fun. I like the 0.75 second stun and the 10 meter radius. 6-7, very nice. 10 meter radius. I've seen some massive concussive combustions capable in game, which will be a great team fighting tool. But yeah, overall, Infernus, if you played against him a year ago, it's similar to that, just a little bit more fair.
Yeah. Jaeben, have you got any other cool children memes to throw in, or just thoughts about Infernus?
Have I ever? Let me get my notebook.
No,
I do think there's some cool changes here that I like. I think the Flame Dash tier 1 being cooldown instead of fire rate. I think fire rate is one of those invisible strengths, but I think the cooldown lowered gives him a lot more power in lane, kind of to be a bit more aggressive again. You'll probably end up putting 1 point in the dash and then maxing out afterburn, which I think does kind of open up more windows. I would say like the big problem for me with Infernus and playing him is like I don't have an aimbot, so I can't hit the head over and over again. And I feel like if you didn't get headshots off an entire clip, it was very, very difficult to burn people in lane for like a long time, since they kind of nerfed the build up a long time ago. But I do think like Flame Dash giving a bit more utility to kind of get you in. You have more usage of it, so there's more times you could dash in, get closer, be able to get that build up and actually burn people in lane. And also melee applying afterburn, I think is a very, very substantial change. I think, you know, you can kind of get into this like, you know, burger boxing situation with Infernus, get in there, get light meleeing, you know, play the melee roulette. Do you get parried? Oh, I didn't get parried, you're on fire. But I think having those opportunities to like open up more ways for him to be aggressive in lane and actually utilize afterburn, which for all intents and purposes is all of his damage. Like if you aren't burning people, he doesn't do anything, right? So I think giving more windows for him to be able to do that, it generally makes him a little bit more, you know, reliable to play, and especially if you're not like someone, you're not just like clicking heads 24/7 in the lane phase especially. Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot nicer in general to kind of lane with him.
Yeah, there's a nice balance somewhere here, and whether or not the numbers work out right now, we'll see. But yeah, this is interesting and cool. All right, let's move on to Ivy, who has a long ass drop here, mostly on the airdrop actually, of all things. But also there was a slight change in addendum here. Ivy Entangling Thorn Spirit scaling reduced from 55 to 45. So bear that in mind whilst reading all of this. I guess, Blank, I'll start with you here, because I've barely ever played Ivy, so I have no clue other than going up against
You got to get on her.
Yeah, she's
the
fun.
Kaelaris hero
she's
now.
Fun. She's fun. I think she's very much now in the support or spirit carry role. I think you can play her both ways.
Yeah.
I've been playing her as spirit carry. It's very funny being able to fly around every 60 seconds, and that's reduced down to like 40 to 50 seconds with cooldown reduction. And on top of that, the cooldown is rolling whilst you're in ult. So a lot of times I'll hit the ground and have 30 seconds left on the next ult. This is an insane application for lightning scroll. Wild, absolutely wild. If you hit vortex web into ult, into entangling fawns, they get stunned in the entangling fawns, then they're rooted for 2 seconds, then the rest of your team mobs up, and by the end of the game I was rooting people with escalating exposure and just killing them. I was killing carry Graves, which I thought was very amusing. This character is very, very strong right now. I really like the Ivy Stoneform tier 1 got changed from cooldown to 7% max health heal, which gives her a little bit more utility in lane, which is lovely. Probably the weirdest one, which you never see with any other kit, is that Kudzu Connection tier 3 is now the ability is always active, which is insane. That thing is always on now. So I'm curious. I haven't played any support Ivy, but that just seems insane.
Jaeben?
It does seem like one of those things to me where, like, I feel like no one was maxing Kudzu Connection, or as it was known, Watcher's Covenant, right? I feel like I like the idea of, like, hey, no one wants to max this ability. Let's just do something crazy with it and see if it shifts around the skill points, right? I think that's a cool idea to balance. It seems very Ice Frog / Yoshi. You know, we don't know they're the same person, but the philosophy feels fairly similar. In the sense of, like, yeah, that feels very Dota 2. Like, let's just throw something crazy and see if it changes how players approach it. But yeah, overall, I think this feels, again, very archetype kind of honing changes. Like, definitely makes it more of a support, more of a spirit carry. I've heard gun feels terrible now, and I think that's fine. Like, I think, yeah, let's just not have another M1 character with a gun like this. Like, let's kind of focus more on her utility, or like the grenade and stuff like that. I think that's cool. I think she seems fun now, and it seems like she's in a good spot.
It feels like there is slowly a move, as you say, with the Dynamo changes, with these Ivy changes and stuff like that, where there was this ambiguity about some roles. Yes, technically some heroes could play other roles and things like that, but now there's this little bit more of a lean towards, like, hey, there are some support players in this world that do like having a range of heroes that isn't 2. So let's throw them a bone. All right. Speaking of which, Mr. Kelvin. Ooh, okay. So Blank, you were saying before about how potentially the Kelvin was being shifted this way. So what are we thinking?
Yeah, that's all great changes. Again, when you saw Paige release, she was very much a support character. When you saw Rem release, very much a support character. Kelvin, I feel like this was their first big attempt at a support character. I don't think they quite got it right. I think these are all amazing changes. All amazing changes. I think this pushes him way more towards a utility, support style. And I think he'll be picked more often in competitive format, and also will have higher pick rate overall. Freeze's stamina regen is such a cool bit of tech there on his Frost Grenade on the tier 2. I love that. So thematically, it makes sense. And also stamina regen is becoming quite a big thing that people need to watch out for. Escaping fights is much harder with that. Even just building in the heal on the grenade early on makes sense. Yeah, just really, I think, personally, out of all the changes, Kelvin feels the most perfect out of this patch to me. I don't think he's too strong after all these changes. I think he just feels good and where he's meant to be now.
Jaeben?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think these are all really good. I love, like, being able to use grenade during the beam, for example. Just a lot of small stuff that just feels like it should have been there. Yeah, the grenade healing by default. To be honest, for a long time, I thought that's how it worked. I never really played Kelvin. I started getting him in Brawl. I'm like, I have to skill this? Like, it was really, really weird. So yeah, baking that into the base kit. Again, another cleanse on his ult, I think, is like another great idea. It's like a circumstantial game choice, you know? You're like, oh, I need Frozen Shelter Dispel. Like, it's going to be really, really impactful here, right? I think really, really cool changes, like you said. It makes him feel a lot more complete. Again, very, very honing in on that core archetype that he's meant to fill.
Yeah, and I think that even when you look at this as well, Arctic Beam Tier 1 changed from -7-second cooldowns to increased move slow and fire rate reduction by -25%. It's super cool because then you've got Paige with Captivating Read. She does Spirit Shred on that. So if you're playing with a Spirit carry, you might want to pick up a Paige. If you're playing into a really, really strong M1 gun carry, you might want to pick up Kelvin in that case. So it feels like what they're doing here is just figuring out that each hero needs to have its own niche. For Kelvin, he's great against characters that are fast and maneuverable, as well as M1 carries, and that's sort of his role. And if you're getting debuffed a lot, you want to pick up Kelvin. I think that once we get draft, which I know is inevitable, having these types of characters that do specific things for you versus specific characters this is the right way to build supports. Not all support should just be heal, a little bit of CC, and defensive barrier. They should be, I want to pick this support for this hero we're playing against. So yeah, I think that they really nailed Kelvin. Honestly, I think this is the best change out of all of them for me.
Yeah, that stems as well into like when I was talking about Calico, right, and having that anti-shield mechanic. I think stuff like that is that same kind of design flow, and that does feel very Dota. Where in Dota, sometimes you pick a character and they pick another character, and that character just hard counters you. The matchup isn't playable. You can't do anything, right? And that's like a core factor of the draft is like opening windows to make those characters pickable, or banning out the counters, so then it's open to play it, or they can't pick that role anymore. They've already got too many supports, right? And I think adding these like more contextual counters within kits is a cool way to balance and like reach that kind of point of parity.
I agree, and you've sold me. I should be playing more Kelvin. I'll get on him straight away right after this. All right, we got Lady Geist to follow up on everything with plenty of changes to Essence Bomb, Life Drain, Soul Exchange, nothing to her daggers as it is for all of this. So, Jaeben, I guess I'll start with you here for this one to shift it around a little bit. The
big thing here is the charges on Drain being accessible a lot earlier. The build that I saw Dew playing from NA and I was kind of running is going basically Drain max. Like you put a point in the bomb, get some early damage and cooldowns, and then you just max out Drain, pick up extra charge, and then you have 4 charges of Life Drain, which basically means you could just walk down almost anybody. It makes you really, really strong on those 1v1s and safe in the side lane. On top of like the Soul Exchange stuff anyway she has anyway. I was a little nervous about the Essence Bomb scaling changes, but I didn't really feel it. So I feel like it's probably not that bad because it was shifted to being 30% of the damage you were dealing, which sounded very scary, but I think is not awful. I think it's okay. It just probably makes it so it matches her like it's a little bit, it's the same kind of value throughout the game as her health gets bigger, right? Rather than just feeling like it doesn't matter anymore at a certain point. But again, didn't really notice it that much in the games that I've played. I do think the tier 3 Soul Exchange change is really, really cool. I think that fits her style a lot. They moved the silence to tier 2 instead, and then they kind of like juiced up the old tier 2 into like this, like when you press Soul Exchange, you are a demon for the next like 8 seconds, right? I think that's a really, really cool change. Definitely fits that style of like Soul Exchange is meant to shift the fight, and it really amplifies that, or even opens you up some windows where like you might be 60% HP, but you still Soul Exchange because then you're just a beast for like the rest of the fight, right? So I think that's a really, really cool change. I like that one a lot. It's one of my favorite updates for the kit that they've done here.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think whenever I was playing Geist and I got to tier 3 and I'm like, you get this, I felt like, oh, okay, silences my enemies within 25 meters of the target. Half the time I'm like not even near anybody else in that moment anyway. I don't even feel it. And even if it did happen, I'm like, what's the feedback on that even happening to these other targets around me? They could be behind me. I don't know. I mean, it is still there, of course, in the tier 2, but again, it didn't feel like this is a tier 3, or it didn't feel like it. It could have been. It hit lots of targets, but it didn't feel like it in the moment. Blank, what do you think for Geist?
Yeah, I think Geist has got all great changes. I think Jaeben kind of covered a lot of it really, really well there. And I think that, again, Kelvin and Geist are probably two of the good ones. I think there was a lot of hit and miss in this patch overall. But as long as they're getting further and further towards how Kelvin was changed, how Lady Geist was changed, I'm totally okay with it. I think they have to shake things up once in a while. I think the meta was getting a little bit stale. Some of the old characters are a little bit stale. I think this is a really good way to do it. And I'm glad they're doing this now as opposed to later, because they can't keep releasing heroes who are cooler and better. And again, most of the games you played over the last month or so since Old Gods and New Blood, you were basically just playing against the new 6 heroes. That's
6 DLCs.
Yeah, you were just playing 6 DLCs. So they had to address this now, and I'm glad they've just done this blanket change. Getting this out as quickly as they did is very, very impressive. And so I'm totally okay if they get some things wrong. But as long as we're getting towards how Kelvin was changed, how Lady Geist has changed, I'm cool with it. I'm very, very cool with it.
I'm glad that you also came up with the episode 5 name as well, The Blanket Change, because of course today's episode working title is The Wet Blanket. But okay, well, let's move on to Lash, and obviously a very important change here, as I've zoomed in really far. Where's that gone? Increased sparkles. That's the
Leave
first...
it that zoomed in. That's good.
Finally, finally increased sparkles.
It was unplayable before, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. He just wasn't sparkly enough. It was throwing me off.
he's got a cool new parry as well, which I like the look of. Very Lash-esque.
Yeah, middle on this. There we go.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Again, it's not a massive amount of changes here to Lash. I think the big one that you should consider is plus 60% air control and plus 1 stamina on usage for grapple tier 3. So the hero fantasy is basically you're in the skybox, and I think that's okay.
And an arsehole.
And an arsehole. Exactly. So I think that's absolutely fine. They are trying to shift some of the damage off and make him a little bit less of a nuisance. But I think they were quite tentative with a lot of these changes. They just wanted to make him a little bit more interesting than just a ground slam bot.
Yeah, which to me he will always be. But Jaeben, how about you looking at this?
Yeah, this grapple tier 3 change feels like another example of that to me, where they're like, nobody's maxing grapple. Let's just throw something really crazy into it and just see like what people do with it, right? Because this is borderline, it's with rapid recharge and like maybe recharging rush or whatever. This is like infinite stamina for Lash, right? Basically, like plus 1 stuff. Every grapple. Like, yeah, you're basically just going to be in the air forever, like forever, and he already feels like he's there forever.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's like a cool example of like, yeah, no one's maxing this. Let's just throw something crazy on it. See if it changes up the skill order. See what people do with it. I like that philosophy, even if, I don't want it to happen to Lash because he should just be removed.
Yes,
but,
like that.
It's a tolerable change, tolerable choice.
Up until it hits me. It's as if I blacked out and suddenly it's another day. These patch notes take so long to go through. But anyway, was that smooth? No?
Yeah, that was good.
That
You
was
got
really good. That was great.
the Midnight Barbers gone to you as well. So that's
nice.
He's been pulling out his hair reading these notes.
What's happened to my hair? Oh, no! All right, anyway, let's talk about the next hero that's coming up, of course. McGinnis, actually one of my favourites. Haphazardly won a tournament with McGinnis. Of course, a huge bunch of changes. I have to mention.
He never mentions that. It's probably like a new fact for all viewers.
A factoid, if you will. Yes, McGinnis, many changes to mini turrets, many changes to Medicinal Spectre as well, and also Spectral Wall now spawns turrets here. Jaeben, talk to me about McGinnis. I'm sure you're very happy that she potentially might have some more strength.
Yeah, I love McGinnis. I don't know, I'm not really sure yet. I've seen a few of them. I've seen gun ones do basically nothing, and I've seen spirit ones feel like they do quadrillion billion damage with the ult. So I'm leaning towards, my early impression is that the ult build is kind of back. And you kind of play around turrets for spacing, and then when they try to commit, you pop the woo woo woo, and then they can't get away. I was thinking recently, do you remember when they first changed it and how upset you were specifically?
The noise.
They first changed the ult noise, yeah. And I can't even remember what the ult one was anymore. Like, wasn't it just a siren? Like,
I'm going to admit, I can barely remember it either. However, I'm still upset.
All I know now is woo woo woo. Yeah, I think generally some cool changes. I think it's kind of cool that you can melee the wall now. I think it should have a visual effect of like the wall cracking or something since it's 2 melee hits. I also think it could probably, I don't know, I think maybe it could just be 1 hit because the segments you're destroying are quite small. So I wonder if it could just be like a heavy and a light, or even just a heavy, and that would still be okay. If they're going to add this kind of mechanic. Because 2 feels weird. It feels like you can't break 2 in many situations that matter. Like, it's like the only time you're heavy meleeing 2 and it's valuable is when they like threw it up as an annoyance. And like no one's committing either side, so it doesn't change that you were going to catch her because you weren't going to catch her anyway because like she was already gone, and it doesn't change that like you're escaping in a situation where she's trying to trap you. Like then it feels hard to get 2 melees off anyway. I think it's a cool idea. I just think it could be probably changed to be a bit more reliable of a factor when it's being used. But yeah, overall, I think Alt McGinnis, Heavy Barrage seems like the way to go.
I guess if you're coordinated as a team and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you need to get this guy out, right?
That's true, yeah.
To try and do something. But again, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's maybe there's some clunkiness here and there. How about you, Blank? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. A 1v1 situation is tough. But I think that's the point, right? Is if you're catching someone as McGinnis in a 1v1, you're meant to be able to trap them in with the turrets. Then you do your big reveal of all the mini turrets coming out.
Reveal?
Your big reveal. Look at that. There's 4 turrets on the floor. Yeah.
I will say, I haven't even seen this yet, by the way. I've literally not even seen the turrets on the wall. So I guess nobody's maxing walls still, understandably. Like, I still have not even seen this mechanic.
I did in Street Brawl and went full turret build, and it was disgusting. However, I don't think that is the same environment as an actual game, so it doesn't really matter too much, Blank.
But yeah, I think it's fine. I think that I'm kind of leaning more towards the case of if you're getting chased down by a McGinnis and the team's getting caught out by a wall, then you should be able to get 2 heavy melees in almost instantaneously, and then everyone can just leave, right? I think that I would 100% be on board with having it crack, because I think you were saying this last night, Jaeben, where I wish it had like that visual effect. And I think that makes sense because that helps with coordination. Is if you already see a cracked part of the wall,
you know which to punch.
You know which to punch.
You know the punch.
Yeah. So I think that's. I think 2 heavy melee is fine. You don't really want to just kill her dueling capability in terms of 1v1s, but you want it to be less egregious when you're trapping 3 players or running away. It's like that's not a possibility anymore. Every McGinnis I've seen is rubbish. They've all gone 0-20. And again, I think this character's just in an odd spot. I appreciate what they're doing, but if I'm to put it anyway, and I don't know if you'd agree with this, Jaeben, anytime McGinnis has been strong, it's just not felt fun to play against, and it's not really also felt fun to play. It doesn't matter if you make the turrets better. Inherently, they're a weird mechanic that is a stationary object, stationary sentry in a super movement heavy base game. Like it's very paradoxical.
Yeah, I know what you're saying for sure. Could you clarify for me? Speed bucket 3 to 2 is a buff, right? That means she's faster and like her stamina, her slides go further, right? Yeah, that might make it feel a bit better. I will say this has always been the worst feeling character for me to play, like you're kind of saying. It is like that. Yeah, it's very against the nature of the game, which is move around, jump around a lot. Obviously, you're still going to want to utilize that movement on McGinnis. You just have to, but you're not taking as much advantage of it because you're very much a stand your ground character. But sure, definitely agree that when she's been good, it's not been fun. And yeah, the early damage I've been taking from Heavy Barrage, like I think they definitely like pulled back on the duration and kind of like pushed it into more scaling and damage, right? So like the early like times I've been getting hit by like 3 or 4 hits from it and like losing like 1,000 life instantly. I'm like, okay, this is gonna get dangerous if people get better with it again. So I am a little nervous for sure. Because I do agree that it is a bit of a weird design and it's never felt too great to play for against.
Seemed to work better when there was less movement in the game, when there was a more limited roster of heroes and things like that. And again, I mean, even when it was good, there was a specific subsection of people, the psychopaths like me, that did enjoy playing it. But it's just a very, as you say, it's a very different play style. Spawning the turrets, they're not moving around with you. I don't know, maybe like something that actually, what is it, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor did. It's a completely different genre of game, but you actually throw down
something else entirely.
But there's a dwarf you can use, and he can throw down turrets and stuff like that. And you're like, okay, cool, these are turrets and blah, blah, blah. But there's an upgrade later on that allows them to have little tire tracks to follow you around. Now, I think that might be insane for this game. However, there's ways of making turrets work, I think. I'm not a game designer. I'm not going to tell them how to do it. But there is a way somewhere to make turrets work, I think. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, when I gave feedback on this character on the forums, like my feedback was always you should switch around Rocket Barrage and the turrets and do something similar to what you suggested, is where the turret, I really wanted the turret to have like several functions. Like it would be one of the only abilities games that had branching paths where it could do different things. Either it was a utility
healing
tool,
turret, or
a healing turret,
Oh,
or
okay.
it was a full like machine gun turret. And I think that'd be an interesting way to do it. And then Rocket Barrage is just like, you target certain areas, you shoot it out. It's kind of like Xerath from League of Legends, which I think would be cool in lane. If you don't know Xerath, it essentially you just target areas and then a barrage comes down. In his case, it's lightning.
Okay.
But something like that could be cool. But yeah, I just McGinnis is weird. I think once people start figuring out playing Stamina Mastery, maxing wall, and then all you do is you just throw down turrets with Echo Shard, and then throw down 2 turrets with wall, and then when everything starts to get dicey, you just run away because she's in bucket 2. I think she's going to become really annoying. I don't think people are quite on that vibe yet.
All right, well, let's move on then. That was quite the discussion for McGinnis. Let's move on to Mina, who, let's be honest, at the top state of play when it came to competitive, like in night shifts and stuff like that, was seeing quite a lot of play and doing very well for herself as well. Now there has been quite a wealth of changes here. I guess I'll come to Jaeben first for this one. What do you think of Mina?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Mina in her last kind of form, after they did the last pseudo rework, I'd say, made her a very, very powerful laner. Her scaling was also totally fine as well. She was basically just super dominant throughout the whole game. And I think the main thing as well was just the Sangren retreat was so strong. Like, it just basically got you out of anything. Now, having said that, they have basically pulled away the cooldown, right? So it's not up as often, but they've given her a third dash on tier 3, which will be thrilling, I'm sure. Like, everybody will really love that. Actually, they moved the cooldown to tier 2, right? Yeah, so I guess it still does the cooldown. So now she just has an extra dash for fun. So I think that is going to be still annoying. It's a little bit shorter range, right? But the main thing, I think, is they pulled away from some of her laning damage, especially if you're maxing out love bites. Like, Rake is doing less damage, you're healing less, is a higher cooldown. Like, a lot of her early trading windows are lengthened, basically, so, you know, she doesn't have as much uptime. Definitely going to be around, like, that one chunk of burst, which is kind of her playstyle anyway, right? The Mosquito kind of playstyle. You go in, you hit them, you run away until the love bites is back up and Rake. But, like, that window between is going to be longer now. She's going to be doing less damage. But in return, I think they've given her more scaling. So I think she is going to be much more of like a powerful secondary carry, like kind of like not going to be your main M1, but her mid late game damage is going to be higher. So I think it's a good change because, yeah, I do think she was overbearing in lane. If you were playing against Mina that, you know, that could consistently hit love bites, dashes up, gets the Rake. Even if you trade back evenly, she's just going to heal off the camp, right? It was just too much kind of like utility and sustained power, I think, even with her lower health pool. So I think it is definitely healthier that her lane is pulled back a bit, and then when she does hit that mid late game range, she is a bigger threat. But yeah, I do worry of things like the additional recast. I think the triple dash is like, how are you ever catching her now? You know, it was already really hard, and obviously like the spell magic buffed as well. Like, she was basically building that every game anyway to deal with slowing hex. But now it's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, when she presses 2, she's gone. Let's not even bother. Like, it's like last tier of escape, right? So I'm a little worried about her mid lane game strength, but I think it's probably fine, right? It's probably fine that she's more of that character than this like super dominant lane bully.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the changes here. I think the 1+1 recast is okay because you're not getting that until much later in the game unless you're maxing this first. But I like that they're pulling off a lot of the strength from those tier 1, tier 2s and putting them in the tier 3, because I think the biggest problem with Mina is that you could go 2s across the board on all her abilities and have insane strength by 12, 15 minutes into the match. And that was totally fine. And I think that was the biggest problem with Mina. She snowballed so well, and then she was also a late game carry. Like, it was just so difficult to play with. It's like playing versus a Wraith who is strong. Well, Wraith right now is ridiculous, but buffs,
We'll get to that.
let's say, it's like playing against a Wraith who is super strong at 5 minutes in the game, which is the whole the whole shtick with Wraith is that she is a really weak laner, and that you're meant to be able to bully her in lane, and then you sort of have to keep her in check for the rest of it. For Mina, she didn't have that problem. She was just strong throughout the match, and then really strong late game. So this now pulls a little bit of strength off her like first 15, 20 minutes into the match. So she's not just snowballing you, and then if she gets even slightly ahead, the game's over, which I think is more healthy for the game.
Yeah, I especially appreciate the fact that Nostra had a little bit of a bump in that initial cooldown, because it did feel like I was just, every time I was going up against Amina, even in the like early to mid game, it was constantly hitting me every single time, and I was always silenced, and it was a great fun time. But anyway, let's move on to Mirage, who also coincidentally has quite a lot of play at the very top level before this patch, and I'm not sure whether or not this is actually going to change much of that, because looking through this, I think he's still pretty powerful. I guess I'll start with Blank for this one. What do you think?
Yeah, so actually, after we all disappeared from the ether last night, I watched the Freak Frog Fest,
yes.
which were with the old ZP, and I got to watch Hydronation play Mirage. But the way they were playing him was like a tempo econ character. So they were pretty much minimal supplies bumped into him. 2 points in 2, and then 2 points in 3, and then max Dust Devil. Because it now gives you a second recast when maxed and improves the spirit scaling. So they were just buying a load of spirit items and then rushing Echo Shard and having 4 Dust Devils per fight. This is 4 lifts.
It's awful.
As soon as you get Echo Shard, so around about that 16k mark, he is unbelievable. You talked about Mina being uncatchable, Jaeben. This character actually is uncatchable because he's got invulnerability during Dust Devil, and he can do this 4 times in a row. And you can hit Echo Shard whilst in the second one. So there's no delay between the third and the fourth. I saw Leffa on the stairs, like on mid-boss, just go up and down and up and down and up and down. And there was nothing the enemy team could do. So, yeah, it's a massive change in playstyle. Though I have also seen Mirages doing 1.2k damage with 3.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I don't really know what changed from Jin's mark that makes it now feel like it's crazy. Like, I've also seen this as well. I'm getting blasted for like 1,000 damage at 20 minutes, and I'm just like, huh? Like, when I look at it, I mean, I guess it's the cooldown reduction on tier 3 must be part of it, but they did increase the base cooldown. Like, when I read the changes, I'm like, I don't really understand why this feels like it's stronger, but it definitely does. So it's pretty crazy. It's also got that mini stun now at tier 3, which is also very annoying to play against if you ever stack it up that high. Yeah, overall, I think, again, it's kind of like Venator, right? Where I think it is cool in theory that you can kind of like switch these carries around between like, this is my main M1 carry, like I'm going to build full gun and like scale into the late game, or you could be like, oh, I'm playing the melee Venator this game.
The Minotaur, I like that actually.
The Minotaur. Or, I'm playing Tornado Mirage, right? I'm much more about the utility. I'm still outputting damage, like I'm not like a tank, but like, it's a different build and a different style. I think that is cool in principle. Is this one too annoying? Maybe. Like it is a little crazy. I do think it's a little sad that they took away the Traveler effects. I think people were finally kind of getting around with that, where it's like, oh, my Billy's looking for an engage, I'm gonna Traveler to him, he gets the Unstoppable, now he gets in for free and can do what he wants to do. But I do think it borders on unhealthy as well. Like, I think that kind of thing removes a lot of the counterplay of like, a Billy or an Abrams going in, right? If they're walking in with a free Unstoppable off the rip, it was pretty deadly. So while I thought it was cool that players are finally coming around and getting better with that, especially within competitive, I do understand the removal. But yeah, I think overall it feels like a buff. I especially do like the Scarabs change, actually. I think this new version of Scarabs is way better. The old one was just really weird.
You're just like,
a lot of the time.
For sure weird.
Yeah, you basically wanted to throw 2, and then you just had to throw 2 more because you had to.
Yeah.
The new version is a lot more flexible. It's a lot easier to like 1v1 or take an elongated team fight and kind of like save the charges for when more people actually appear or your original one runs out, which is very important. Like, it's quite a big buff in like an elongated 1v1 where normally you would not be able to refresh it, I think, most of the time. But now, or I suppose you could refresh it, but you wouldn't be able to necessarily keep it going. But now you can throw another one and hold the charges for when the original one runs out. So I think this is like a lot better, just in terms of how the ability works. So I think it's a really nice quality of life.
I totally agree. It felt like one of the most clunky abilities in the game did fire scarabs up until this point. But also, actually, the fact that Traveler no longer has a channel and it has the 3-second delay before teleporting, but taking damage interrupts it and puts it on that 6-second cooldown. There are a lot of instances, I would say, in professional play as well, where a Mirage is off on another lane here, blank, and then all of a sudden, he gets ganked. But he just Travelers away, and then they don't have a stun to follow up and kind of lock him down. Now, Mirages have a potential situation of being a bit more vulnerable if they're going to be like kind of collapsed on, no?
Yeah, and again, they sort of alleviated that by giving it the ability to just go anywhere. I don't know how I feel about that change. I feel like his map presence was already insane, and now just having the capability to just like, TP behind lanes is wild, especially if you're playing this Echo Shard format and you're just TPing behind a Guardian or players, and then you're just dust deviling into them. I do think it's definitely healthier that he can't just have a FU button and then just fly away, which I think is fine. I think that's totally fine. I'm
very
okay
much
with
mirrors that Ivy change, right? Like the Ivy change is kind of simultaneous. It feels like that kind of playstyle they recognize is like not fun. It's just not fun to like, try to collapse on someone. They just press a funny button and leave.
Yeah.
Obviously, he could do it while moving, right? That's one of the things about not channeling is that now he doesn't have to stand still.
Sure.
So there's definitely like a world where it's like, you do some deadlocking and you get in like a weird cubby and you like, you dash around a corner while it's channeling and then you still get out. And I think that's more rewarding than the current one for sure. So I wouldn't say it's entirely dead to like escape in that kind of scenario, especially with Tornado, right? Because like that was like the classic thing as well. Which character am I thinking of? There was like a situation where it could have been Ivy, I suppose, but it was like I guess it's Calico is probably the one I'm thinking of. Calico, that kind of style where it's like you can't cat while you're taking damage, but then she leaping slashes around a corner, she dashes, she wall jumps up, and it just comes up, and then she cats and she's gone. And it's very reminiscent of that, I think, where as long as you could avoid damage, you can still use it to escape. But I like that it's a higher skill kind of requirement than just I stand in the corner and travel.
Oh, we'll see then. That is Mirage. Let's take a look at Mo and Krill, the Slayer of Celeste, the Hitman from the recent Night Shift as well. Some changes here and there. I haven't been able to read through the Mo and Krill ones yet, though, so I'm going to be looking over this for the first time. We'll start with Jaeben. What are you thinking about Mo and Krill?
Yeah, it seems like this guy is actually like the patch demon, especially after the tournament yesterday. I feel like he went from like getting picked almost every game to then being like first banned every game. Like he was just literally removed. Obviously, a lot of non-Mo and Krill players always complaining about the Mo and Krill players. That is the big war of Deadlock, I think. Like you either, you die as a hero or you live long enough to play Mo and Krill or something like that, right? There's something to that. I think these changes overall just seem like they kind of enhanced almost everything he was doing, and the things they took down, like, Sandblast duration, it was already so long that like pulling it back by 0.5 doesn't really feel like it makes it weak. It just feels like it's still good, right? Like, they did increase the cooldown of combo, so it's not getting as much value in kind of like that early game. I think I've seen a lot of people like maxing it out now to get that increased duration and lower cooldown, which is now at the tier 3, which probably seems better, lowering his ability to kind of impact the game with a guaranteed pick, pretty much, quote unquote, across that early game period. But it feels like his lane phase is still really, really strong, if not stronger. Every time I've laned against it in this patch, it just feels completely brutal. And to be honest, every time I've seen it this patch, for some reason it feels like he's like 5 to 10k ahead of the lobby, and he's Mo and Krill, and I'm like, where's this guy getting all this gold from? Like,
you got the new tunnels, man. You got the new tunnels. You're getting all the tunnel boxes now as well as eating every single camp on the map. So yeah, it's rough. I mean, again, the Deadlock community is basically a split between normal adjusted humans and Mo and Krill players, because
he's quoting his own tweet, by the way. That's a self quote on his own.
I got a self quote there.
Was that on the Hyperline? No. Okay, go on.
No. But again, this character is insane. I mean, in lane, I've hated playing against it. The Scorn spirit scaling is kind of the big one. This now procs Tank Buster, which I think's stupid. You can proc Mystic Burst really early in lane. Like, before it was a case of if Mo and Krills were in lane against you, if they didn't hit you with Scorn, it wasn't a big deal because they didn't heal all that much off of the troopers. Now this thing, you can just, as long as you hit three or four of the troopers in lane, you're healing like 600 health. It's impossible to get him out of lane. This is like one of the lanes where you sort of have to rush heal bane or some kind of heal reduction item, and for if you're playing 2 gun characters in lane, it's impossible because you can't afford to save up for toxic bullets in that lane to have enough impact. It's a really, really sad lane to go against, and also combos doing like 800 damage. It's ridiculous. I think Mo and Krill just got more annoying.
It seems crazy, yeah. They seem crazy, I suppose, 2 of them. I will say something funny I've seen about the tunnel change is because of the cooldown of Burrow being quite long, if you do go into the tunnels, you actually end up stuck in there for like 15 seconds, which I think is quite funny because you've got to wait for the next Burrow because it doesn't last long enough to get through the whole tunnel.
This was straight away my first question. I'm like, oh, well, I guess maybe the burrow duration stops and you just are able to go freely through it. No, you just get stuck. And I'm like, well, how does that work? That feels clunky to me. I'm sorry, because it's just so weird.
I'm pretty sure they made them bigger on average, a lot of the tunnels, so Mo and Krill could fit, which I think is like a hilarious change that they just didn't document, right? It's like, yeah, we had to make all the tunnels bigger, guys, so you could like crouch through them.
Yeah, because that's what happens if you unburrow. You just start crouching and waddling on.
It's quite stupid that you burrow in, and then most of them, like, obviously there's the shorter ones, like the ones in the side lane.
Yeah, you need a plan.
Right? That's like a new escape route for him. It's going to be really annoying when, he's already impossible to kill, and now he's going through walls. But yeah, the bigger ones where you have to go underneath and come out somewhere else, it's just not long enough to get through any of them. So you just end up, I'll just take a 20-second break in the tunnels, guys. I'll see you soon. Like, I'm on a box run. Gotta go.
I mean, the tunnels have been a topic for me for a long time, which I'm like, okay, so, Ava as well as Rem can go in there. Who's getting it next? It turns out it's Mo and Krill, but like, again, I feel like it's a bit clunky. I still feel like there should be like, I don't know, some weird change to a shrink ray item and then put that in the main game and allow a lot more people to be able to go in. But I don't know. It's an interesting concept, an interesting one. But anyway, well, let's move on from good old Mo and Krill. We have Paige, who now has a lot of different names for her abilities, which I like. Yay, good stuff. So Bookworm is now in. You got Plot Armor. I will say Plot Armor that's an acceptable name right there. Blank.
That's a phenomenal name. Like, yeah, that goes crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the names here are unbelievably good. So I'm just happy about that. The renaming was all buff for her this way.
A big buff.
A big buff indeed. I think for Paige, I think she was already in a fairly good spot, honestly. They sort of just readjusted how Bookworm works, which used to be the dragon. So it's now less damage on impact and more damage on the ticking side of things. So the consensus, you want to get Bookworm off into Captivating Reed to lock them in the fire and the flames that left on the floor. They reduced the barrier scaling a little bit because it was a bit egregious late game where you get a divine barrier and the plot armor and it's like impossible to kill someone. But again, I think most of all, the Paige changes, I think they were happy the spot she was in. They just gave her some quality of life stuff and a little bit more bonus damage on rally and charge, making it cooler with the max amp from 100% to 150%, which I think is the main goal of this patch, is just to make some abilities feel cooler and a bigger identity.
I definitely agree with that. I think for the most part, it feels like the only nerf she got here was a little bit of scaling out of the barrier. And I think the only issue I have with the barrier stems from the game's UI currently, where they're just not that visible. Realistically, it's hard to tell like how much shield someone has, kind of thing, right? Which I think is just like that will be solved as the game like develops better health bars and stuff like that. We've already seen them, But yeah, I mean, obviously Captivating Reed a lot stronger now. Just every single upgrade got buffed. That's pretty crazy.
It was already really important in our kit. Like, it was already very strong.
I already felt like it was really good as well,
yes,
right? Like,
yes.
Especially with Vortex Web and how that's working. Like, I never felt like it was bad, but now it's just stronger across the board. So that's a little scary.
I agree.
I like the T3 rallying charge change, increasing the amp from traveling across the map. I feel like it's not even good, but it's just the kind of thing that's funny. Like, sometimes you'll throw it all across the entire map, and now it will do more damage and healing. Like, I think that's just cool.
Yeah.
it's not quite got the same value as like Ancient Apparition in Dota 2, because I used to play a lot of support in Dota 2, where Ancient Apparition, you can kind of target it, it grows in size, and you shoot it, and it felt way more easier to hit long range than Rallying Charge, for sure. So I understand where it exists in that kind of like MOBA style. But it is much harder to hit in this game than it is in some others. But as you say, with Captivating Read, I think that in many, many late game scenarios, anytime you would hit a big Captivating Read, it would almost always result in a kill. Never mind the idea of it being stronger now. And also, to randomly put a kind of end on this, I'm waiting for someone to point out the fact that, yeah, but worms don't have wings. Why is it a bookworm? And I'm just going, oh, it's whatever. It's just a dragon-like worm creature.
I might have been watching Jason Kaplan's stream today, and he might have said that exact thing.
Oh, no! Did he actually?
And then he went, oh, it's worm with a Y. Oh, it's like a drake. Oh, and then he was back.
Yeah,
he was back. It was like a 20-second period where he was like, why is it a worm? Like, it's not funny. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then he was like, oh, it's worm like a drake. And then he was like, oh, okay, I'm back. It's really good. It was a real saga. I loved it.
Wait a minute. He thought like worm as in worm and then got it wrong again, is what you're telling me. Because worms...
he got to drake, like worm, like, like a
But they're
dragon.
not the same.
Well,
It's a bit nitpicky now. Kale, come on.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Pedant on the podcast.
All right, okay. All right, from pedant to paradox, let's go to the next one then. We've got a lot of pulse grenade power back on in action, and I love it because it's the only time I ever played Paradox when our pulse grenades were killing everything, and now maybe they're able to do some more damage. So we'll start with Mr. Blank. What do you think about Paradox pulse grenade power?
Pulse grenade power. I think people are playing it still very similar to how they were playing it before, which is kind of the hybrid gun and then maybe some superior duration later on for the damage amp from pulse grenade, because pulse grenade got a lot of buffs in terms of the damage overall and the spirit scaling. I think the weird one right now is that Time Wall got completely changed. And it was weird before the hotfix where they added a silencing effect to it, because they removed that beforehand. That wasn't in the kit anymore. And it was so strange listening to Paradox in-game being like, this would be great to swap them through. And it's like, well, it does nothing, so maybe not. So I'm glad they added the silence back into it, because that was maybe a silly maneuver. And also I feel like that is her identity as a character, is drop the bomb, drop the wall, swap them through the wall and the bomb. Where's my patch notes gone, Kurt?
Have I got rid of it? Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, no, it's back. Sorry, it's back.
No, let's change the... Oh, it's all good. We're back. Okay. That's going to be weird to edit, but I'll make it work.
No, don't worry. Leave it in.
Just leave it
in. But yeah, so I think Paradox is interesting. What I didn't know, which I found out last night, is that the projectile on Paradox's ult goes faster through the wall. So it's almost hit scan, as is Carbine. As you can see there, affects Carbine, but doesn't say it affects the ult. But apparently it does affect the ult. This is coming from Mr. Goober, so I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So I missed every single ult I sent out last night in a game, which is very depressing. I don't know what they changed, because I have a ton of hours on Paradox. It used to be
bloodline, dude.
I failed my bloodline. I failed my bloodline. But yeah, it felt like in the past you could sort of clip it on the side of people and it swap them through. Now I feel like you need to be quite accurate.
Mr.
I'm
Jaeben?
going to drop a hot take here.
Okay.
I'm going to say she didn't need the silence back on the wall. I think these changes are fine. They kind of redirected her identity, especially around grenade, which is insane now, especially for sieging or any kind of mid-boss fight. Anywhere where there's a fight that's going to happen around a specific location. The Echo Shard grenade combo is unbelievable damage right now. It's incredibly large with duration and expansion. Like it's practically the whole mid-boss arena when it fully scales out, which is crazy. And obviously you can chuck two of them with Echo Shard. I think the new wall is pretty cool, but kind of disgusting. Like you basically give your allies, like, for all intents and purposes, this glass cannon in terms of like the damage increase they get from shooting through the wall, which I think is a very big difference. It changes a lot with how you kind of like want to position wall and utilize it, stuff like that. And obviously there's the mass swap now. You're swapping an entire team, which is pretty funny. But I don't know. I think overall this kit they moved a lot of the power around. They took the silence out. They made this grenade way better. They added this new feature to swap. Like, they made the wall a lot stronger utility-wise. And I think they should have given players some time to kind of mess with that and work that out. Because I think with the silence back in, this kit is extremely overloaded again. We had a long period of this game's lifespan where Paradox was undeniably basically the best character in the game. Almost everybody was saying that. Like, any role, anything, everybody was saying that Paradox is unbelievable. I'm just worried that she's going to be back into that position where this kit just has too much in it. Like, now she has the pick tools, she has the silence, plus she has this utility of, like, allies shooting through the wall, plus she has this, like, insane grenade, you know, control utility. Obviously, it's a challenge to build from all of it, don't get me wrong, but, you know, you can pick and choose based off the game which factors are the most impactful, and now, you know, you kind of have all of it in the kit. Like, I just think that's, it's a little worrying that it's too overbearing, I think, with the return of the silence. So I would have preferred if they'd left it a little bit and been like, hey, let's just see how this goes, rather than, you know, day one, it's like, guys, we got to have the silence back. It's just not fun. And especially because it's only on, like, T2, right? It's not like she has to commit to the full ability, right? And, like, fully put out the wall. Like, it's just there. So now, like, I would almost say that, like, even without the damage, maybe the wall is, like, stronger in a 1v1 because you're getting the increased damage shooting through it. Even though the wall itself isn't doing damage, you know, you don't have to have them going through the wall over and over again to get that value out of it. So I'm a little worried that it's all too much now and she will be incredibly strong. But, you know, I like a lot of the idea of a lot of the changes. I think it's a cool way to rework and reutilize some of her abilities, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
I think even without the idea of, like, building for any specific parts of the kit and stuff like that, if you think about what was going on in pro play as well, is there was times where she was being first banned even quite recently, and then was kind of that real go-to for pick potential, right? So you're just getting a lot of this other stuff on top of that already, that the pros have suddenly decided is so strong anyway for free. You're getting so much more bang for your buck here with Paradox. And you know what, guys? You've convinced me. Maybe it is time to bring back the Echo Shard bomb build and pump up my Paradox win rate even more.
I think the biggest problem with Paradox right now is that she's strong early game, but then they gave the thing with Paradox is that you had that good early to mid game, and then she became more of a util character late game because she was definitely the economy character where she did very well with very little items. But now you can actually build her out and start doing insane stuff late game if you start building into Spirit with the bomb, and then the mass swap into the bomb with you got the alchemical fire on the ground. It's disgusting. I don't think people have fully figured out the wall yet. I'm wondering at what point it gets to where teams start just taking two really strong gun carries and then you drop a wall on mid boss and you obliterate mid boss, stuff like that. I've already seen people starting to just, you get superior duration, some gun items, and then all they do is split push because they put the wall down, they bomb the walker, and you get a ton of damage amp from the wall as well as the bomb. So yeah, I think Paradox is just not fully figured out just yet, and she's going to become more of a problem as the weeks go on.
I think that might be the case. We'll see, though. In reading through all the patch notes and seeing how everything is going to interact with one another until we've, like, played out a few weeks games, for me, I think is going to be tough. But yeah, definitely looks strong. And next up, Pocket. We'd have to talk about what they're on and they're doing. I hate Pocket. Next, Rem. No, okay, we'll go back. Just the kit drives me insane when I'm going up against good Pockets, especially because I can never catch them. Look, they're just they're gone, and I'm like, ugh. All right. Anyway, who wants to go for Pocket first?
They got buffed. Let's just they got buffed. I think there's a lot of things in here that made them really, really strong. Affliction DPS went from 28 to 32, so now they're even doing even more damage with that. I've seen some Affliction bots in my game who are just getting tons of damage value off the back of it. But surprisingly, I think Barrage was one of their biggest buffs. It's doing a ton of damage now. Projectile damage went from 12.6 per projectile to 16. And I think I saw a Pocket who I thought was Affliction bot. Turned out that Barrage was their biggest damage of the game. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I think Pocket works very similar to how they did before, just better. essentially. I don't think there's any
Great.
major changes here.
It felt like, even from the word go, it was one of the most complete kits because they just did everything. So I don't think you really need to change a lot of what is going on there, Jaeben. And yeah, just tweak some numbers, I guess.
Yeah, I do think there's some notable changes in here, just in terms of how Pocket wants to skill abilities now, especially Cloak losing the cooldown early and only having it at tier 3 is a pretty substantial change. That basically puts you at a 32-second Cloak, I think, base the whole game for the most part, unless you want to max it first, which I think most people generally want to avoid. Tier 3 Barrage, Tier 3 Affliction, like these are generally much more powerful upgrades. So limiting the cooldown of Cloak to kind of like that late game upgrade is pretty substantial, I think. That is a notable change in kind of how Pocket can get around fights when they can find an engage and stuff like that. I think this is almost certainly going to mean Majestic Leap makes a comeback as like a mainstay. It was still kind of like 50-50. I think a lot of times people were still building Leap because you couldn't rush it anymore, and abuse that barrier, which was what Pocket used to do. But I think it's probably going to end up needing to make a comeback just because Cloak is going to be so much more locked out. Until you get to stuff like Superior Cooldown, Transcendent Cooldown, and get that upgrade, it's just going to be such a long cooldown that you basically are going to have like one chance to go in, afflict everybody, and get out, right? You're going to have much less in and out gameplay. Unless you're really dominating the fight, just because that Cloak is so tough to use. Another thing to note here that's quite interesting is the freedom of abilities and movement in Barrage now. Being able to dash in Barrage. Obviously, Pocket's always going Substam, Warp Stone, stuff like this, right? And then Flying Cloak, being used through Barrage as well, is like very, very relevant, I think. It just opens up a lot more of like, coming off the zip line, using the momentum of Barrage, getting to a weird position, but being able to like cloak backwards during it, stuff like that. Like just adding a lot more interesting trading windows and ways you could utilize Barrage to kind of like maintain that momentum. That I think, the one tricks will definitely get better and better and better with, and it's going to go crazy with it. But I think it's a cool change.
Oh, no. I also, the support in me did not need to read this when I was reading through the patch notes. Affliction tier 3 now prevents all healing on targets.
Is crazy. That is nuts, for sure.
Help me. Oh. Yeah, thanks, Pocket. Thanks, Yoshi. All right, moving on to Rem as fast as possible. Poor little Rem. Although I think poor little Rem, and everybody hates Rem. So Blank, I'll start with you. Cheeky little Rem.
I think the Rem is super simple in terms of the changes. Not much change at all. I think the only really big change that we really need to talk about is Nap Time Tier 2 change from Unstoppable and minus 35% damage resist while channeling to plus 0.5 sleep duration and 3 meter radius. This means you can actually stun him out of nap time now. He doesn't get just 3 nap times all the time. If you're quick enough, you can even knock down him during this, and it will go off before the nap time does. So I think that's the only thing here that's really major. The move speed reduction is pretty minor, and sleep duration got slightly decreased because it was fairly long. But other than that, I think they were happy with the spot he was in. He's become less and less of a nuisance over time. Sure. I do think that a lot of the problems you find in Rem in your game, I don't know if you agree with this on Jaeben, but I think mostly pilot error.
Yeah, almost certainly. I think Rem's in a good spot. I think definitely agree. Didn't need much changes. I do think the Unstoppable seemed like it was strong when you were reading it. I don't know how often it came up, to be honest. And most of the times I'd seen people use it. Like, I feel like there was a lot of creative ways or a lot of angles you take where getting interrupted isn't really going to happen anyway, right?
I think that's what they wanted, though, right? Yeah,
it had its moments. I'm sure. Yeah, it had its moments where it probably was relevant, and I like the idea of like knockdown, for example, seems quite relevant. Being able to like knock down as the ult starts, stuff like that is definitely a big deal. But I think it makes sense to change it just because probably was not fun when it did matter. But yeah, I think Rem's fine for sure.
I mean, the amount of times you're at playing a Rem and if you're a good player, you're going to watch where the Rem's positioning, and you kind of already telegraph when you're going to use the ult, because you're wanting to jump into a higher position so that you've got some maneuverability because you're constantly trying to track the targets and stuff like that. So, I mean, good players will probably know, okay, he's about to try and pop his ult, moving into that kind of spot as opposed to away from some of the teammates or whatnot. So, yeah, that is little Rem. Oh, actually, I guess the final question is obviously, Sinners, he's still taking all the Sinners on the map and still being annoying in that regard. Do you feel that that's okay now, or do you think that that's still something that maybe should be revisited?
Again, that's what I mean. I think any problems you have with Rem is pilot error, because that is a decision at the end of the day. Do I take my teammate sinners? And I think you
That's what they should be doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're sort of having that tiny airway situation where now it's just the Rem casino. It's like, if you piss off the Rem, you're going to have no sinners on the map.
All right. Okay. We can move on to 7 then and take a look at lightning bolts, static charges, power surges, storm clouds, everything available to 7. Jaeben, we'll start with you. I think even maybe you played a few games of 7 recently to take a look at what he was up to.
Yeah, I ran it a little bit to kind of see how it felt. I'm not really sure. I think maybe it even feels like a nerf overall, which is a bit sad because I don't think 7 was good before this patch anyway. And I think, the sum of these changes didn't make him feel necessarily any better. Basically, the things you were doing before that were good are still good, which is things like static charge, right? Just a very, very good ability, the big stun. But given that he's meant to be like a carry, it doesn't feel great. It feels like they locked a lot of the power of the power surge build behind the tier 3 now. So there's even like a longer period where you basically don't really do much outside of click static charge. He doesn't really have much lane presence. You can power surge and get a bit of value out of that. And they did lower the cooldown a bit on the tier 1, which should open up more trading windows generally, but it still just feels like his downtime is too long compared to most of the good laners and carries even in the game. It's too difficult for him to find good fights. So yeah, you basically still have to like farm up a lot to start to become relevant, and then by the time you do, it doesn't really feel like it's much of an upgrade. So yeah, I think I'm a bit disappointed with the changes overall. It's nice that you can move in the ult at base now. I think like that is like a something I think makes it feel a lot smoother just to use as an ability, but you lost the bullet resist, so you just die in it now instead, which is kind of sad. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I feel like it definitely doesn't feel like a buff overall, and I think it probably feels like a nerf.
Yeah, this is a funny one, the movement in the thingy in the storm cloud, because I felt to myself, okay, well, yeah, as you say, it makes it feel a little bit smoother, but it doesn't matter. You're really not dodging abilities to be all guns, considering how slowly you are still moving across the sky. So it's like, great, well, you have some agency over where you're going to be, but people are still going to be able to blast you. So, Blank, how about you?
Yeah, I think the saddest thing about this change is the move speed no longer scales with spirit power. You did get to a point in the game where you were moving so fast you could perma slide and just get tons of ammo off the back of that. And I think that was a fun aspect of him.
I love this. Yeah,
that was, again, back in the day, I think it was Leffer again doing this, who does always seem to figure out the most broken things. So they had to change crouching because of that. But you could still effectively do it every other tick, right? Which I think is great. But removing that, it takes away. Static charge no longer scales from spirit power as well in terms of the cast range. So you're not hitting static charge on people from halfway across the world anymore. But again, I think for 7, they tried to get him in a better position in terms of state-wise for the game, and I think they have just basically crushed him. I think he's still a strong late-game carry. We're playing against one the other day, and he was doing an absolute ton for the squad. Yeah, but there are way better options right now. There are way better options. Tons of better options, in fact.
Personally, kit-wise, I still advocate him as like one of the best for new players to get in. I feel like he's the quintessential, this is a MOBA character. He can do everything kind of pretty okay. And right now, nothing amazing, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. What have we got? Shiv. Oh, no. Oh, all right. Okay. It's time to talk about Shiv. And where, okay, let's play a game of where's the bleeds coming from? Because I'm confused. What's happening right now? Jaeben, what do you want to talk to about Shiv?
Yeah, I mean, pretty interesting changes for Shiv across the board. I think...
Thanks, Yosh.
The killing blow change makes sense. It's always been pretty oppressive. I think making it into a skill shot you can actually interact with is nice. Allies can block it now. You can just stand in the way and just completely stop him from reaching the low HP carry or whatever. I think it's funny that they added this like recast the ultimate part, while simultaneously making it way harder to kill people with. Like, it was like, guys, it's already dead. It's already dead. Like, I think they could have gone like one or the other and it would probably be okay.
Yeah.
Both seems a little crazy, but maybe it doesn't come out that often anyway. killing a stamina, I think, is nuts. Like, it's obviously a direct response to the right-click movement that Shiv has. People that min-max that aren't going to feel this that much, I think, because generally they weren't utilizing all the stamina anyway. But for any players that aren't doing that, which I think is likely way more than the people that are, this is going to feel rough. Like, 2 stamina, I think, always makes characters feel a lot weaker.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to have to, commit to actually picking up substam and stuff like that, or maybe even things like Arcane Surge, especially with the main problem, I think, which is that knives are back, and wow, do they hurt. Thank goodness the spell magic got buffed, because you are picking it up against Shiv now, let me tell you, because these things are like, we're talking like 2,000 damage with 3 or 4 knives. It is unbelievable how hard they hurt, and that's even without, like, I was playing a game with Blank yesterday, and I was dying to a Shiv with like 3 knives. I look at his build, he has rapid recharge and like improved spirit. That's all of his spirit items. It was just that and just like, greens and like literally 2,200 damage or something. I think I was in Furnace. And I 100 to 0, and it was just knives. He shot me like once, and I was like, "How is this make any sense?" So knives are really, really crazy again.
And of course,
I think it's like the worst way of it as well, because they killed the impact damage, and now it's all delayed bleed, which is like it's very hard. I think, in the moment to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take 900 more damage in the next 6 seconds," right? You can't really feasibly do that. So it not even being upfront anymore almost makes it worse.
Yeah.
As we know, nobody's ever missed a knife with Shiv. It has never happened.
That's true. It's true. I think that it's so annoying to me, because I think every change on Shiv this patch, other than knives, is so good. It made the character have interactability with other heroes on the map. So fun in terms of like, the spirit shred now on the dash and plus 2 meter range. So that could be that could be really cool. Like, you were really playing into that outplay potential where you get him in the corridor and he's just going to go back and forth and just own you. So amazing. Like, he's got a lot of conditionals in the kit. And then we decided just to go baby mode, and none of the Shivs are interacting with 2, 3, or killing blow. They're just throwing knives at you. It's like, it's so frustrating. And it feels like no matter what they do to the Shivs will find the easiest way to play the character and just play it that way. And it just so happens that the easiest way to play the character is also outputting extreme amounts of damage.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say about it. As soon as I saw,
in conclusion, nerf Shiv again.
Please. All right, well, Shiv, you'll never see the light of day eventually. It's if I've got my way. All right, let's move on to Silver, who actually coincidentally, for a lot of the top players, felt like for them was the Shiv answer. But now, of course, some changes have come in, and Shiv is a very different character. So what we were seeing before and with those bleeds. So Blank, Silver, your favorite lovely furry. What are you thinking?
Okay, interesting. I don't mind any change. I think Silver could have done with slight nerfs to human form. She's still an absolute menace in lane. Again, it's really hard to get a bead on Silver right now, because when you watch her in tournaments or in game, either she's absolutely mauling you to death, or she's not really doing all that much. And I think that I was talking to ZP yesterday, and he made a great comment about how for the character, you have to be good in human form as well as werewolf form for the character to feel good, which I think is very, very fair. Like, because half the time, if not more, you'll be spending in this one. She's also in a weird place in the matchmaker, because I'm pretty sure the matchmaker counts her as a bruiser or frontliner. But a lot of the times, if you're not already winning, you just don't have a frontliner on your team, because she's not in werewolf form enough. So yeah, I think Silver's a strange character. I think good players are still going to be damn good on her. I appreciate they removed tail whack from 1 second disarm duration to 1.5 second debuff duration. That seems like a crazy cool change, that you could just apply a lot of debuffs like silence wave, etc., and then just tail whack, and life's really bad for whoever you're mauling. So yeah, that could be an interesting one. But I do also appreciate the increased like and curse cooldown from 35 to 50 seconds. I don't think any Silver's going to be buying superior cooldown. They don't really do it anyway, and this just gives you that peace of mind that there's never been a point before this patch where I've said Silver's got no ult. Right? I've never said that. So I like this where there is that duration where Silver's got no ult. We can all in the Silver here.
So
That's the biggest change for me for sure. I think is that cooldown increase on the ult. I think that changes her uptime a lot. It maybe will force people into maxing ult more aggressively most games, just so you can kind of keep that duration up longer in a team fight or whatever. Because it does feel like once you're out, and like, not to say human form Silver is bad, especially in the early game. Like obviously we talked about laning, it's very very good nowadays. But like in a team fight, I think a lot of times you'd rather be the werewolf. So yeah, once you're out and it's gone for a long time, you're definitely gonna feel it, I think.
I'm trying to think of a time I was in a team fight with a Silver and she wasn't in werewolf form. No, that's what happens. That's what happens. So maybe we'll see a little bit of difference from that one. Let's move on then to the good old potential man, who I believe has already been given pain battery from the word go. So that's been a bit of an interesting change for him. But there's a lot of changes here overall for Victor. It keeps scrolling. It keeps going. So Blank, I guess I'll start with you for Victor.
Yeah, overpowered. Like, grossly overpowered right now.
Okay.
I think everything they added to him just sent his damage to the absolute moon. Like, Aura's Suffering does crazy damage now. Yes, they reduced the scaling a little bit, but DPS on the minimum end got increased. So instantly you're doing a lot of damage. And the tier 3 got reduced from 13% to 15, from 15 to 13%. Now, that seems like a nerf, right? But everything that added here just made him such a problem in terms of stickiness. A lot of the jumpstart changes are all absolutely fantastic in terms of giving cooldown, as well as reductions. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. He even gets +1 charge on jumpstart tier 3 now, so he's even hard to get off you. Pain battery tier 2 increased from +36 to 50, which is a big deal in terms of just overall burst damage for the character, which means he's healing even more off Spirit Lifesteal. Yeah, I think Victor is really stupidly strong this patch.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Everyone I've seen has performed really well. I mean, it's very much the design of the character, right? I know they had this problem, right when he came out, right? He was basically hard nerfed like 3 times in a row. And until he was finally kind of like pushed out of the meta again. It is a tough design, I think, because
it is.
It feels like the kit of a tank, sort of, right, or a bruiser, but it absolutely plays like a carry. It absolutely does the damage of a carry, but it combines that with that incredible sustain and like just insanely hard to take down. You kill him once, he's coming back. Like, it just feels like at some point the whole game is warped around him. When he is strong in his numbers, and that's kind of just back at that point where he's just gonna like sit out of the game until he's 35-40k, and then he's gonna come into team fights and he's either gonna kill 5 people or he's gonna lose.
He's gonna die.
The whole game becomes about, can we take down Victor? Is Victor killing all of us? It's definitely a tough. I don't envy them having to try to balance this character. I guess it's nice that he's back a bit, but there's some elements of this that I think make him a lot stronger without having to add the rest of it, right? Things like starting with Pain Battery makes his laning a lot better already. I think that was already a big problem with his laning, is like you had to take a bunch of damage to get Pain Battery off and then have a good trade, and like having that from the get-go, is very, very relevant. Much more range on Pain Battery, right? It's a lot more consistent in terms of how it comes out in the code, right? All of these things, I think, make him a lot better in lane off the rip, which I think makes him better in general, right? Because like if you get through that lane phase and you can get to like that mid-game farming period at a good pace, like I say, you just hit potential man mode. But I think overall this feels like way too many good changes. Just to like, when he reaches that point, it's like insurmountable now. Instead of like, maybe we can stop him.
Yeah, it's super tough.
I've said the same thing to you guys for months now, ever since Shiv came along, but I feel like heroes and characters with damage mitigation or damage delay and then this much kind of self-healing and stuff like that are always going to be unbelievably difficult to balance to where you need them to be in that sweet spot middle ground. They're either always going to be too strong or always too weak, and that's why you see these characters like either we're always playing them or they just completely fall off blank. It's a tough spot, it really is.
Yeah, again, like I think you like need to do something really weird with Victor, honestly, because arguably one of the easiest characters to get any kind of impact in the game. I think that players you just can't aim play this character as well, because you essentially press 3, you go walk on top of someone, and occasionally, even now with the increased paintball, up to 5 to 7, the amount that come out and the randomness reduced as well. You just generally aim in the direction of someone and you get the massive percentage health back. I think it is a really silly character. And you know, my brain's like, oh, maybe they need to add some kind of rhythm game to Aura of Suffering where you need to press 3 every time.
He pulls out a guitar.
Yeah, exactly. Just to keep the max damage, or give them something else to do, because it is brainless gameplay, dude.
I can see him in a metal band now, that, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with this. All right, we're moving on from Victor then into Vindictor, who actually had quite a few, I would say, very important changes and different changes, right? Like Crow completely works in a different way to how it was prior. But anyway, Jaeben, let's start with you, my friend, with Vindictor flying along.
Yeah, the biggest changes for Vindictor here, I think, is the being able to parry during flight is very, very relevant. You can now build counterspell, you can now counterspell knockdown, things like that. Any kind of attempts to get you out of the air are very strong. I've seen a lot of like these like kind of gun Vindictors coming back again, picking up things like the new buff, blood tribute, and just, you know, raining down fire. If you've got, like, you know, killer aim, especially with the increased bullet velocity, you're just completely drilling heads, just killing people really quickly. The new crows are really strange. Initially, I thought it was a lot closer range because of the animation, but it's actually like basically the same. It just now like spurts out a burst of crows, a murder, if you will, and just looks a bit weird. I don't know. I guess you can hit more people with it now. It's a very strange ability now. I don't know what was wrong with the old one, really. But hey, that's kind of neat, I guess. But yeah, I think, you know, generally just made her a lot better across the board. Yeah, I think the counterspell in the air change is really big. I think the item cast range in her flight is really interesting for things like Alchemical Fire, just getting the opportunity to just kind of launch that. Yeah, overall, I think she's been a bit weird for a while. I'm still not really sure where they want her to be between like being a support and being a carry. It feels like these changes didn't really push her in either direction necessarily, so maybe they're fine with her kind of flexing between it. But yeah, I think she hasn't really been that good in the meta for a while. She's always been a bit of a weird character. So they're giving her the ability to kind of like deal with things like knockdown a little easier, especially in flight, is really valuable. The other thing I've seen is like because she can melee in flight now.
Floor Dictor.
Floor Dictor, you warp stone. You press 2, you warp stone straight back into the ground, and then you could just like punch people on the floor and just shoot them normally as if you're on the ground, but you're in flying mode. I thought that was kind of funny. I don't know how viable that is, but maybe it's better than being in the air. Who knows? Either way, yeah, I think it's good to see her get some changes that feel like they will make her a bit more solid as a pick.
Linky?
Yeah, I was kind of I do want to go watch some games from yesterday because I know Aiden the Destroyer was playing, who is a phenomenal Vindictor player even pre this patch. So I'm curious to see how he's building this character. I think that again, I love the direction that Val's taking. Vindictor bullet damage now scales with spirit power. I like that they're just finally against this point. It's like, yeah, we can give them passives. We can just give them passives, but they don't have to be like out there. Like these things just are built in. But I do think that at some point it's like you need to start explaining these things, or like adding a smaller ability or a tooltip on the character, because stuff like Venator, his resist scaling off his spirit power, that's not explained anywhere unless you read this patch a year ago so say we went a year ahead in the future and you never saw this patch, you would never know that Vindictor's bullet damage scaled off spirit power because you won't have read this patch. So these are things I do think they need to explain in game somewhere, rather than having like specific stuff like this, rather than having to scroll through all of the stats on a character in the first place to figure it out, unless that's how they want it to be.
When you hover over the weapon, does it not have the little cheeky spirit star?
You can see the indicator, yeah. There is a scaling icon where it is relevant, but it is kind of buried in a menu, like...
It is not obvious where it is. You have to be highlighting over something that is... Yeah, I completely agree. I will say, actually, one thing that thematically always never made any sense for me is Vindicta is this sniper fighting from really far away, and then suddenly her sniper rifle is now a machine gun. So I like the fact that it's like no longer just really quick shooty fire rate on this what looks like a Winchester. I don't know what the gun is. I'm so sorry, gun fanatics, but like, back to let's ask Jason. He'll know.
Just unsubscribed.
But yeah, so now I guess like less fire rate, but like the bullets are more impactful, hitting harder. I'm okay with that. So, any final thoughts on Vindicta before we move on?
Nah, I'm just glad that she can dispel and counterspell now. As much as it's annoying to play against, I think they need a little bit of love.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Viscous, who I must admit I'm slightly excited about some of these changes, even though they're a bit crazy. Firstly, the visual of the punch now, and also the size of it feels like it's not so much that the punch is hitting you, it's more that the entire floor is hitting you sometimes in some of these moments. So I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. But also the fact that you can like slide along the splatters that you've created, and it makes it better and amazing. I love that so much. But anyway, Jaeben, we'll start with you here for Viscous, who has had some significant changes.
Yeah, a lot of things overall. Obviously, the melee changes, melee charge and crushing fist now working on his punch are quite substantial.
Yeah.
I don't know. He already received a little bit of a nerf on his splatter and puddle punch and the hotfix to take his damage down a bit. The punch is a lot more reactable now, I'd say. It's not necessarily easy still, but you have like, I think 0.2, 0.3 seconds longer. So you have a little bit more ability to kind of react to the puddle punches and get the parries off. I think the fact that they removed Google taking earn is my favorite change. Finally, all the people I've called bug abusers who insisted that that's just how Viscous works will perish, and they will never get an earn again because they can't score it in 12.8 seconds. Yeah, I don't know. Overall, I haven't really felt much of a difference with Viscous. Feels loosely the same. Yeah, there's some new fun stuff like sliding on the splatters, but does it really come up that often? I don't know. Like, not really.
I'll show you.
But, I think, it's a fun additional part of the kit. I will say I've noticed the ball is a lot squishier now. They did pull down the resists a lot, and that is quite noticeable. He's very killable in the ball now, and I'm not complaining. So that's great.
I like that he can dash down now, though. So you're seeing all these ridiculous moments of him jumping above and just smash, 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 smash. And I'm loving that. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean that's been a thing for a while with Goober's able to do it. He's got tons of clips on TikTok and refuses to upload on YouTube, which annoys me because where I like to watch my Deadlock clips. But yeah, I think puddle punch also granting plus 30% air control when affecting yourself and allies. Was great for allies, but it does mean now Viscous, if you're against a good Viscous, he gets themselves out of any scenario with puddle punch. I am very interested to see if people want to start playing Splatter Viscous at some point, because this now bounces 4 times at max. But you have to invest a lot into it because the spirit scaling got reduced from 1.77 to 0.8 early. And to get back that 2.1 scaling on this ability, you need to max it out on tier 3. But yeah, I am very, very curious to see if people start playing this build because I think it could be disgusting, especially in close quarters. But yeah, Viscous just seems like a very chaotic character right now. Being the ball, throwing punches out, throwing splatters out. It's all a bit wild. It's all a bit wild.
I mean, the splatter with
enough, to be honest. That tier 3 splatter ratio, by the way, I think it's up to 1.9 now. So I think they already clipped it a little bit off the rip.
Okay.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I think splatters with tier 3 and maybe some Echo Shard funness in some more choked up scenarios could be a lot of damage, and that could be fun. All right, well, that is Viscous and how it does sit. Let's sit with Warden now and take a look further down. Apparently, he is a policeman who enjoys some alchemy on the side, and take a look at what changes he's had. We'll start with Black to get this going.
Yeah, I think that for Warden, they just put a lot more power into his binding word. The silencing enemies until they escaped or are trapped is kind of wild. This means that you're silenced whilst it's above your head. It's not just whilst you're being trapped. And we played with a Warden last night. He was doing like most of his damage through Last Stand, but he was basically playing Silence Bot. So he would just Echo Shard binding word onto multiple people. Yeah, that was really
solitary confinement build. You
Yeah.
will be in jail, unable to do anything for
Yeah.
5 seconds.
I hate this.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. I think they go up. Can you go up a little bit?
Yeah,
on this
up
page?
and up.
Yeah, so they reduced his bullet growth scaling a lot by 0.44 to 0.38.
He's hitting hard.
Because he was hitting very hard in the late game and was just this crazy late game carry. I don't think we will fully figured out how to build this character just yet, but I think that what they wanted to do with Last Stand at least is make it so you go into less of those situations where he got cancelled off the rip. Like, that's meant to be his big move, so he gave him a load of spirit resist and bullet resist whilst he was channeling. I believe if you go down, they added a few more things to it as well. Yeah, you get unstoppable while channeling, which is great, and the duration got increased to 3 seconds. I think they just wanted to make him more interesting. They've done that. Is it the right way to do it? I don't know just yet. The silence does seem wild, but I think he was a character in need of much love because I think he had one of the most basic kits out of any character in the game.
Sure. Jaeben?
Yeah, I think it's quite funny, these Last Stand changes, because I'm pretty sure Last Stand just existed, and then they were like, everybody's getting stunned at a Last Stand.
Yeah.
Let's give it unstoppable. And then they were like, well, that's broken. Let's just make it resists
Yes.
on tier 3. And now it's like, actually, you could just have the resists, and then we'll give you unstoppable as well. Like, you
Yeah.
can take it all. Turns out it's all fine. Whatever. Yeah, the big shift here for me seems like they're trying to kill Gun Warden and really make him into this, like, bruisery, last standy kind of, like, off carry. Which I think is probably a little healthier in theory. Like, I think Gun Warden, is disgusting when he gets to that full build. You know, if he ever gets a root on you, you just get shot in the head like 20 times instantly and you're dead.
Mhm.
It is pretty nuts, the damage he reaches. I don't really know the overall, like, value of a bullet growth decrease like this. Maybe this is enough that, like, yeah, he's doing drastically less damage in a gun build later. And yeah, he's meant to be more of this, like, spirit carry, like playing around Last Stand, back to that Majestic Leap build, utilizing the new buff Binding Word to, like, lock people down, and, like, yeah, that's how he's meant to be impacting the game, and they're more happy with that kind of playstyle than the gun version, which I think did feel, really extremely oppressive when it hit that full build point.
Do you know what I would like to see? I would like to see a range indicator on Alchemical Flask at some point, because you're still just randomly throwing this thing. I don't know if that is meant to just be like how it's meant to be. You just got to guess how it's going to travel through the
He's
air.
a wacky alchemist. He doesn't know.
I know, but also I think they what they do need to change is how the hitbox works for Alchemical Flask. Because I feel like Alchemical Flask hits you even though you've dashed 3 times away from its initial landing position.
Yeah.
It's really silly. And I don't know what it is about that ability that works this way, but you get Bluetooth by it a lot. And I am not a fan, especially in lane, because it does a lot of poke damage.
Yeah, it is annoying. All right, well, Warden, be done. All right, this one is an exciting one. Wraith, not only Wraith, but pretty much a Wraith rework, let's be frank, in terms of how the cards work, all as well as kind of a big fix towards, well, I was about to say a big fix towards the ult, but the infinite ammo on the 3 is also interesting. All right, let's start with Jaeben to get this going, because it's some sizable changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think off the rip, flare-wise, this is an incredible change.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It's so much cooler, the new card trick, compared to the old one. The suits mechanic is really, really cool. Just adds a lot of, like, different experiences to how you fight sometimes. And there's things like, I'm getting a bit low. Oh, I pulled a hearts, dude. Let's go. I'm going to get some healing back. Like, just the moments like that feel really cool. They do really tone her down a bit. She was definitely pretty oppressive off the rip, I think. Just, like, scaling into the late game, she was doing drastically more damage. There's a few interesting things here, I would say, from, like, having played her. I feel like you build cards a lot slower, which feels a bit weird. But they are a lot more powerful, especially in, like, PvE situations. Like, if you're hitting a walker, if you're hitting camps, it feels like they do so much more damage.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which aspect of it, like, made that happen. Like, I guess it's just maybe the additional effects that you get from the suits now. Because it feels like they lowered it across the board loosely. But yeah, now it feels like it's really shredding, especially objectives and neutral camps. The full auto infinite ammo is very funny. It is very funny to just have infinite ammo and not even have to slide. That's great. It's very exciting. I do think the new telekinesis is worrying.
You think
I
so?
feel like we keep saying this a lot this patch, where it's like, hey, remember that broken thing? They've just brought it back. And like this telekinesis is like another example of that, where it was like, wow, guys, it's really annoying that Wraith can just instantly telekinesis people. You can't react. Let's make it a projectile. And now they're like, let's bring it back as an instant, but also she pulls you into her team. And you can't use stamina? Like, it's like, it feels disturbing. Like, I don't think I've failed to get a kill with this once since the change, right? And I feel like that definitely happened last patch. And it even happened at times with the old version where you instantly targeted them. There was definitely times people could move away and get out. But now not even being able to use stamina is like crazy. Like, it's borderline impossible to escape from her once she telekinesis you now. And it seems really, really, really disgusting. So I think the telekinesis change is my biggest flag of this one for a question mark.
Yeah, this is like the light melee parry vibes you've got from telekinesis. If you want to counterspell this, you have to predict it's coming. That's the only way to do it. You have to pre-counterspell. Again, I think this could either lose the 40% move slow, or you need to reduce the duration on the debuff. And even with tier 3, it's 1.5 seconds. So that is 4.5 seconds of stamina and movement item ability usage removal. It's a crazy change. Again, it's point and click abilities are never good for the game, in my opinion, especially ones like this. Like, a lot of the ultimates in the game, they're all counterspellable, I guess.
Counterspellable.
Counterspellable.
We'll go, yeah. Go on.
Counterspellable. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, even Pocket, like, that's got a big tell when he's majestic leaping into your team. You can do that. For Wraith, it's pure guesswork. And it's such a disgusting dueling tool. I think she was already a strong jeweler before. And now, even when I was watching Jaeben play, when he's playing Wraith, I'm just like, just keep pushing the base. Just keep pushing that base. It's all you have to do. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous because no one can fight you right now. This character is bloated to hell.
I will say, sorry to cut you off. I will just say, like, in terms of like dueling, telekinesis is technically slightly weaker, right? Because it doesn't actually disarm them anymore. It doesn't silence them. That is the one thing it lost. Is like, I think like defensively, it's not as good. Like, maybe you can push them away and try to run, and they can't use stamina, but like it doesn't have that, like, you know, oh shit button factor where like, oh, I'm getting engaged on, I'll telekinesis them and fight back. That's not as much of an option anymore. It is a much better offensive tool, but it is weaker in that regard.
Oh, it's super easy to track them though. Well, when they're stamina and movement,
even I can hit them. It's crazy.
Exactly. So it's like they can't dodge or anything. So I'm just like railing them with the gun. It's crazy. Go on, Kev.
I think this come next week's night shift, if things don't move in terms of numbers and things like that, I feel like this is like a first ban worthy. Like looking at
permaban last night.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well.
yeah. Permaban last night.
No surprises.
I don't think she's getting in on DLNS, that's for sure.
Yeah, terrifying stuff from Wraith, who, you know, I mean, hey, look, you guys a week or two ago were saying, we want some changes to those old heroes, those old guns in the Cursed Apple. And this is what you've done, Blank.
I mean, I will say we've had some fun this patch because I think me and Blank have queued into multiple games now where there are 0 of the 6 new heroes present in the lobby.
True.
Which is bizarre. You're like, where did they all go? Everyone's like, I'm playing Wraith. I'm going to play Infernus. Your Pocket's so cool now.
That's great, though.
Who's that?
That's awesome.
But I think that is great. That is great. Like, that's what you want to see. And that's what I think a patch like this, bringing that kind of energy is phenomenal. Like, I think that's like the best part of a big series of changes like this.
I mean, it's the most awesome thing about live service games, effectively. The fact that, like, from week to week, who knows what's going to be coming up next? Who knows where the game's going to be? And it will always keep our interest peaked. Let's head on over to Yamato to talk about her and see what she's been up to with power slashes, flying slashes, crimson slash, and shadow transformation. Jaeben, why don't you take this one straight away?
Guys, I just wanted to know, am I living in an alternate universe where Yamato wasn't very good? Because this is like the most insane list of changes I've ever seen for a character that was very strong.
People forgot about her for some reason.
There's like so many things in here that I read them and I'm just like, why? It's like Power Slash now has base bullet resist. Okay, why? It's now like longer at max range. Okay, why? Yeah, when you have 2 points in grapple and you grapple to someone, you just get Boundless Spirit for fun. Okay, like why? Like, it's such a strange list of changes, but yeah, a character that was not bad at all. Yeah, you can now parry out of Power Slash instantly, and then, you know, if they were trying to punch you, you could just instantly cancel it with parry and parry them. Like, there's just so much in here was just like, I don't understand. This character was not this bad. Like, you look at something like Seven, where it feels like they're so careful to like give him any kind of power, and then you compare it to something like this, and they just like overloaded every ability in the room. Like, it is an unbelievable list of changes. I think I would be so surprised if, like, especially as people play more and on. It's not very exciting, right? She's not got anything drastically new. It's the same character, so I could definitely see like she's not that popular off the rip because people don't really want to try it. But my word, this is just an insane list of buffs for a character that was very good.
What is this, by the way? Shadow Transformation Tier 3 increased from plus 20% bullet resist, spirit resist to plus 30%. Didn't we just have this exact problem with Silver and you nerfed it into the ground? I also don't understand most of these changes. I was sad last night because Fred the Finch is currently on vacation, so I didn't get to see his Yamato last night in the tournament, but I guarantee that he would be playing it. And it felt like this feels like a very knee-jerk reaction to, oh, everyone's playing Apollo. No one wants to play the other Spirit Bruiser Yamato, so let's just buffer to higher heavens. It's just, everything here is ridiculous. I think the base 60% bullet resist and then getting a 40% slow for 3 seconds. Yeah,
it's crazy.
You're right.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
Well
Why?
To Power Slash? Why? It's like almost every line I could go down and be like, did she need that? Did she need that? Did she need that? Like, it's just, and I say this as someone who plays Yamato and enjoys Yamato, right? I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, I hate playing against Yamato. These changes are so broken. It's like I play the character and I'm even like, there's no way they had to like add a lot of this, right? Like some of her power was obviously locked behind some of these upgrades now. Like, you know, things like, the Power Slash is a bit shorter until you max it, right? You have to put a point in grapple to be able to have a lower cooldown, right? They took away some of the fire rate slow of Crimson Slash. You know, these things do exist where they've pushed some stuff around to move her strength into different places, but like at the same time, it's like, why is grapple giving me 40 spirit power at tier 2? Like, it's just, why is Power Slash slowing them and also 5 meters further? Like, it's just a lot of strange choices. Just a lot of the ways the powers move around and a lot of the extra things she got just don't make sense to me. I just don't know why she needed it, but you know, whatever, I guess. Like,
is there some cool playmaking potential with this thing now where grapple to ally heroes and become charged and gain 2 extra charges of it and you can just fly around everywhere? What is this?
Yeah, because you can cancel it early, and if you cancel it early enough at the end of the cast, then you gain a ton of momentum, so you can just fly away anytime. It's basically, we're essentially giving tag along to Yamato. Thanks, Big Yosh.
I'm going to do a rapid recharge and hope that it stacks. Then I'm going to get 200 spirit power. When
oh my god, 5 times. True.
Then I'll Power Slash them for about 4,000 damage. I'm so sure it won't stack, but wow, it would be funny if it did.
That would be funny.
Hey man, you were talking yesterday about the Phantom Strike on
oh my day
Abrams, and
that
seems to be a thing.
That's
that
real.
To be a thing.
I found out in the same day because we're recording this on the same day.
Of course,
and we
the same day.
A day apart. I gained the knowledge telepathically that does work. You can Phantom Strike an Abrams ult. It's crazy,
and it looked scary as well. So there you go.
Quite scary.
All right. Well, yep. Yamato's in an interesting spot. Wait a minute. It's over. Wait, where's Viper?
That's true, actually. Yeah, they should bother. no one plays that character. Whatever, move on.
I was in my head. I was like, all right, okay, we're almost at the end there.
She had a ton of reworks already, so I think she's... Yeah.
And still she sucks. It's like, whatever, let's move on.
Sorry, Viper, I guess. You could be angry somewhere else. I'm annoyed that your friends are in prison or something. All right, well, gentlemen, we've come to the end, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yes. Oh, they did add...
That's the hotfix.
Yeah, they added the hotfix
talk about when it came up.
Yeah. All right. Oh, it has been
We
an
made it.
episode. We made it.
Yes.
Guys, what do you have to say for yourself, considering we've been victorious in this achievement, Jaeben?
Yeah, I'm down for no patch for a while. Sounds good. Let's take a break. Woo! I love Deadlock.
What do you mean? Next week, we're back, and we're going to do a tier list based on all of the changes over the weeks of games, saying where everybody's going to be. And then Blank told me, oh, you shouldn't do a tier list because people are going to be mad that you put them in the wrong place. And I'm going to say, I don't care. So,
Let's let you decide in the comments. Do you want to see a tier list? Are you even still here? This is a 6-hour video. Like,
you
Yeah,
still
it's true.
here?
If you are still here, well played. Respect.
Yes. What a patch, though. I think it's very exciting to see these kinds of things just out of the ether. Because what I thought we'd just come off the back of technically what was a huge patch with the 6 heroes blank. And then suddenly they were like, but what if we brought you even more? And it was just an avalanche of changes. It's crazy stuff, blank.
Yeah, I mean, if you did make it this far with the avalanche of changes, like Kel said, remember to comment Shiv baby mode in the comments down below, and subscribe and like the video. We'd appreciate that. We would appreciate
Shout out to the Deadlock dev team, though.
Yeah.
Like what Kaelaris is saying, I think this is a phenomenal list to come out. Like, we joke about the size, but it is an unbelievable thing to ship, especially after they've just had a big content ship. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. The game has, like, never felt better. It feels so fresh.
Yeah.
And, like, things like this, I think, just reaffirm how excited people are for this game and its development cycle. It is just unbelievable.
On that note, though, I will say it's super unbalanced right now. It is so unbalanced, but
Okay.
Sort it out, Yoshi.
No. This is a good thing though. I would rather they did this. They ship things super unbalanced, and then people actually get to play test this, and they get a lot of feedback from the community on a wider scale. And rather these changes came in thick and fast, and I'm glad they're experimenting with stuff, because stuff in here is obviously broken.
It's bonkers.
Bonkers is probably a good way to put it. But they can come back on this stuff. They can come back on this stuff, and I would
did
rather
check the stats again.
Yeah.
March 8th, new all-time peak, like basically in this
Damn.
Oh, seriously?
120,000 concurrent.
Damn.
There you go.
Okay.
It's the Deadlock era, baby. It's the Deadlock era.
It very much
You're
is.
finding all about it on the Hyperline.
Oh, we should end on that, but we're not. That was good. I will say as well, to what you're saying, it's not just the public that are excited. It's clearly what's going. Like, when you see a patch shipped like this, you're like, okay, clearly Valve is excited to work on this game as well, right? Because this is just an insane patch to come out for something like this. But anyway, let's wrap it up. That has been the Hyperline episode number 4 here. Jaeben, where can we find you before we see you next week for that tier list?
Yeah, that's Jaeben _ on pretty much all platforms. X the Everything app, Twitch, all the good places. Yeah, what a ride. What a ride.
What a ride. 2 days, 1 day's worth of patch recording, of course.
We filmed it all in 1 day.
Just 1 day. We all had to change for some reason. Blank, where can we find you?
You find me over at Blankcast or most places as well. And as well as the Hyperline for more future videos, which should be coming soon.
Absolutely. Right. Subscribe here, of course. You can check me out at Adama and Kale on YouTube as well. Our retro gaming videos that do exist there, at Kaelaris, at everything else. And maybe I'll be on night shift for the 5th time in a row. We'll see. All right. That does it for us. Thank you for listening to the episode. It has been a gargantuan, a mammoth episode. And we'll see you next time for more Hyperline.